So, you already have the divorce papers ready? Are you trying to scare me? You know I'm ready for this anytime. I told my husband, Jackson. He got up and went to his room. My name is Kamama, and I'm a 28-year-old office worker. I married Jackson a year ago. We met on a blind date and dated for a year and a half before he proposed. Even though I felt we might be getting married too soon, I accepted because I wanted to be married and have kids before turning 30. However, I later realized I should have been more careful. The first surprise came right after our wedding when Jackson suddenly decided to change his job. When I asked him why, he said he couldn't reach his full potential at his old job. He had already quit and would leave at the end of the month. Though he got a new job, his salary was lower than before. I didn't mind at first since I was also working, but then Jackson began asking me to quit my job. I would have been okay with quitting if he earned enough to support us both, but with his salary being lower, we couldn't manage on his income alone. We had rent, car payments, and other expenses to cover. Jackson promised his salary would increase soon, but we didn't know when. I told him I wouldn't quit until his income went up. He agreed but kept bringing it up. A year has passed, and his salary hasn't increased yet. He keeps asking, when are you going to quit? I'm tempted to joke and say now, but then tell him I'm kidding, because I can't afford to leave my job yet. If he wants me to quit so badly, he should focus on earning more. After some thought, I realized why Jackson was so insistent. He wanted me to quit so I could take care of his mother, Helen. Whenever we visited his parents, Jackson would say to her, I just want to make things easier for you, Mom. Helen would thank him, and Jackson would look at me, hinting that I should quit my job. He claims his mother needs help, but Helen is perfectly healthy. She works part-time, enjoys her hobbies, and has a very active life. She doesn't need my help at all. If I were in Helen's shoes, I'd feel upset being seen as someone who needs care when I'm perfectly capable. But Jackson kept insisting that I take care of her. If only one of us were home during the day, we could check on Mom every day, Jackson said. It became clear he wanted me to visit his parents' house daily, and that idea was exhausting. I asked him, Helen is perfectly healthy, so what exactly do you expect me to do? Jackson answered, there's plenty you could do, housework, running errands, and more. I pointed out that Helen works part-time and spends time with her friends, so she's not even home much. Jackson responded, even if she's not home, you could still do the housework, right? I was baffled. Was I supposed to be her maid? Jackson seemed overly concerned with impressing his parents. If he cared so much, why didn't he handle the household chores himself? I wasn't going to indulge his pride, so I kept working and avoided visiting his parents on my days off. However, I did visit them during holidays. When we went to his parents' house together, Jackson often assigned me tasks, cleaning, helping his mom, or running to the store, but I never did them. When he asked me to go to the store, I'd say, don't you know more about this area than I do? He would respond, it wouldn't make sense if I did it. It seemed like Jackson just wanted to control me and feel good about caring for his parents. Over time, I started to view him this way. One day, I boldly asked him, why don't you pitch in or quit your job to take care of your own mother? He looked uncomfortable and disgusted. That's not my job, he said. I'm giving you these tasks so my mom will think you're a considerate wife. You should appreciate how kind I am to you. In other words, Jackson wanted to dump all the hard work on me while showing off as a good son, but I'm not his servant, and I don't deserve to be treated poorly in front of my in-laws. If he kept making unreasonable demands, I knew I wouldn't stay silent. I'd stand up for myself. But even after discussing it with him, Jackson didn't change. He kept asking if I would quit my job and continued ordering me around when we visited his parents. I finally decided it was time to have a serious talk with him. Seriously, I think we need to talk about our future, I said. Jackson sounded annoyed as he replied, what are you even trying to say? I'm fed up. I'm tired of you always asking me when I'll quit my job and pushing me to take care of Helen, I explained. Why are you upset about that? You're my wife, and it's your duty to care for your husband's parents, Jackson replied. Don't you think that's a huge responsibility? Shouldn't you, as their actual child, be responsible for helping with housework and taking care of your own parents first? I asked. No way. It's the wife's duty. Don't you care about family? I'm really disappointed in you, Jackson said. Okay, then let me ask, how have you been taking care of my parents? If I asked you to care for them, would you do it? I questioned. Jackson looked at me blankly. What are you talking about? Why should a husband take care of his wife's parents? So, you're saying you won't take care of my parents now or ever? I pressed. Husband's parents and wife's parents are completely different, Jackson responded. What difference does that make? I don't get it, I said, frustrated. I didn't realize you were so clueless. It's like talking to my old boss, I continued. What are you saying? Jackson asked, confused. I'm saying the husband's parents should come first. You should also take care of your wife's parents, I clarified. What? So you only prioritize your own family? I'm disappointed in you. I won't visit your parents anymore, I stated. Huh, why would you do that? Enough is enough. I'm the one who wants you to stop this nonsense, I retorted. No way, how dare you talk back like that? My mom is right, Jackson shot back. Huh, your mom was talking about you. She said you're a badly behaved wife, that's why she gave me this, Jackson said, pulling out a piece of paper from his bag. It was divorce papers. What? You already had divorce papers ready? I was shocked. Jackson seemed proud. See? I scared you, didn't I? I'm ready for this anytime. Think about what you just said, Jackson declared smugly, before heading to his room. I couldn't believe how selfish Jackson was. The way he looked so proud with those divorce papers was clear, he was using them to control me and make me obey. And the fact that Helen was involved made me even more suspicious. It felt like Jackson was just following his mom's orders. I wasn't going to let him control me. Jackson had already completed the divorce papers and even had witnesses, including Helen and his friends. It meant I could sign and file them whenever I wanted. The next day, after Jackson left for work, I filled out the divorce papers and submitted them to the city office, just to be safe. I also filed a notice to prevent Jackson from submitting the marriage certificate without my consent. I called my parents and told them everything, knowing Jackson might try to file it on his own. My parents were shocked that I had already prepared the divorce papers but supported my decision. They were outraged by Jackson's behavior and offered to help me move out immediately. I took a leave from work, and while Jackson was away, my parents helped me move my things to their house. I decided to stay with them for a while, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly comfortable and at peace. Looking back, Jackson never did his share of the housework. I was the one cooking dinner after long workdays and doing all the cleaning and laundry on my days off. On top of that, he expected me to care for his parents, which was too much. That night, Jackson called me, likely just getting home from work. Hello? Where are you? He asked. I'm at my parents' house, I replied. Why would you go there without my permission? And where's all your stuff? Don't tell me you're staying the night. I almost laughed. He didn't realize I had taken most of my belongings. His selfishness was obvious. I'm not coming back, I said firmly. What are you talking about? Come back here and make me some food. Make it yourself, I replied and ended the call. I couldn't talk about the divorce if he kept acting this way, so I decided to wait for him to come to my parents' house and blocked his number. A week later, Jackson showed up at my parents' house with his parents. They all looked serious. I led them into the living room, and we faced each other, 3 against 3. How could you do this? How could you leave without my permission? Jackson demanded. You were treating me like a housekeeper, I replied. All I asked was for you to take care of your family. Jackson countered. That's not true. What kind of wife are you if you don't take care of Jackson? Helen, his mother, shot me an angry look. My father was shaking with anger, but I spoke up. Jackson told me to quit my job and take care of Helen, saying it was my duty as his wife. But when it comes to my family, he expects me to handle everything alone. Jackson just wants to control me and uses me to care for his parents while taking credit for it. He prioritizes them over me. Helen glared, but Jackson's father, Carter, seemed confused. It was clear he hadn't heard this before. Let's clear the air, Jackson said, bringing up the divorce papers and claiming it was Helen's idea. Why would you suggest that? Carter asked, surprised. Oh no, it's because Kamama has an attitude problem, Helen stammered. And did you really say my parents don't matter? I pressed. Well, it's only natural for your own parents to come first, Helen responded defensively. Don't be ridiculous, I replied. Carter, Jackson's father, spoke up. I came here to support you after hearing about the unfair treatment Camila endured, but now it seems you're the one at fault. Don't hide behind your parents' authority to get your way. Carter's words made Jackson visibly shrink in his seat. Carter then apologized to me and my parents. I'm truly sorry for the trouble caused by my foolish son. I will have a serious talk with him. You're not to blame, Carter, so please don't apologize, I replied. Thank you for your kind words, but there's something else I need to say, I continued, turning to Jackson, who looked nervous. The divorce papers you gave me, I've already filed them. We're no longer married. Jackson and Helen both turned pale. Why did you file them without my permission? Jackson asked, shocked. You told me I could file them whenever I wanted. Besides, you had already filled out your part and had Helen sign as a witness, I calmly explained. Jackson stammered, at a loss for words. Furious, Carter intervened. Jackson, you used divorce as a threat. He slapped Jackson across the face. Helen was visibly shaken. I deeply apologize that you had to witness this. You were right to divorce this fool. On behalf of Jackson, I'm truly sorry for ruining your marriage, Carter said, grabbing Jackson by the collar and demanding apologies from both Jackson and Helen before escorting them out. Later, I thanked Carter for his intervention. He made sure all of Jackson's assets and property were transferred to me without any issues. Despite my higher income and managing the household, it was a relief to secure everything from our marriage. I later learned that Carter had divorced Helen, clearly disgusted with her behavior. A colleague from Jackson's old job also shared some surprising news. Jackson wasn't performing well at work and often received harsh criticism from his boss. In defiance, Jackson resigned and changed jobs, which explained his lower salary. Instead of taking responsibility, he blamed others, just another reason I was glad to have left him. I've since rented a cozy apartment and enjoy living on my own. Work is going well, and I recently got a raise. Right now, I'm not interested in relationships and prefer focusing on my career. Jackson always cared more about appearances than actual abilities, keeping up a facade at home while failing professionally. Many men use divorce threats as a way to control their wives, thinking they have power, but they're wrong. I hope they realize their mistakes and find happiness on their own. Meanwhile, I'm grateful to have moved on from Jackson and look forward to meeting someone special in the future.
Grandma Ruth's hands trembled as she gripped my wrists across the engagement party's elaborately decorated table. Her eyes, usually warm and gentle, burned with an intensity I'd never seen before. The string quartet's melody faded into background noise as she leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. The shadows, Lydia. They linger behind him like hungry wolves. I'm Lydia, and this was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, my grandmother had just turned my perfect engagement party into something from a Gothic novel. Grandma, please, I whispered back, conscious of the curious glances from nearby guests. This isn't the time. Time is exactly what we're running out of, dear. Her grip tightened. I've seen what lies ahead. That man, he's not what he seems. The crystal champagne glasses clinked around us as Mason, my fiancé, worked the room with his signature charm. I watched him laugh with my brother Sam, their shoulders touching as they shared some private joke. Mason caught my eye and winked, his perfect smile making my heart flutter despite Grandma's warning. He's good, isn't he? Grandma Ruth's words cut through my thoughts. Making everyone believe. Your brother doesn't see it yet, but he will. The doubt's already there, like a seed waiting to sprout. I pulled my hands away. That's enough. Mason's done nothing but support me in my business. He believes in me. Oh, child. She shook her head slowly. He believes in what you can give him. There's a difference. Mother appeared behind Grandma Ruth, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Mom, you're upsetting Lydia. This is her special day. Julia, you feel it too. Don't deny it. Grandma turned to face my mother. The way he looked at Lydia's financial statements last week, like a fox eyeing the hen house. My chest tightened. You're being ridiculous. Mason's a financial advisor. Of course he'd be interested in my business records. A little too interested. Sam's voice joined in as he approached our table. His earlier jovial expression had vanished. Did you know he asked me about your investment portfolio yesterday? He's my fiancé, I snapped, louder than intended. Several heads turned our way. We're planning a future together. These things matter. Nate, my accountant and oldest friend, appeared at my elbow with fresh champagne. His timing was perfect, or terrible, depending on how you looked at it. Everything okay here? Perfectly fine, I said, but my voice cracked. Just my family sharing their delightful opinions about my future husband. Nate's eyes met mine, and I saw something there. Concern, maybe? He'd been oddly quiet since I'd announced the engagement 2 months ago. The shadows are gathering, Grandma Ruth announced, her voice carrying across nearby tables. Mark my words, there will be tears before winter's end. Mason chose that moment to return, sliding his arm around my waist. What's this about shadows? His laugh was easy, confident. Surely we're celebrating light and love today. I felt Grandma Ruth's eyes boring into us both. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees as she stood, her small frame somehow filling the space between us. Behind that smile of yours, she said, each word sharp as glass, there's nothing but darkness. And my Lydia, she's too precious for your games. Mason's arm tightened around me. Mrs. Thompson, I understand you're protective of Lydia, but… No, you don't understand. She cut him off. But you will. When everything you've built comes crashing down, remember this moment. Remember I saw you coming. She turned and walked away, leaving a wake of whispers and shocked faces. Mother hurried after her, while Sam stood frozen, his expression unreadable. Mason laughed it off, but his hand trembled slightly against my hip. Well, that was dramatic. Shall we cut the cake? I nodded mechanically, but as we walked toward the elaborate 3-tiered cake, I couldn't shake the chill that had settled in my bones. Because for just a moment, when Grandma Ruth had made her proclamation, I'd seen something flicker across Mason's face. Fear. And Grandma Ruth had never, not once in her 78 years, been wrong about these things. The morning after the engagement party, Sam cornered me in my workshop. I was sorting through a shipment of raw gemstones, but my hands kept fumbling the pieces. 3 sapphires had already slipped through my fingers, scattering across the wooden workbench. We need to talk about Mason, Sam said, closing the door behind him. If this is about Grandma's performance last night, it's not just that. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through something. Remember how Mason said he played Division I football at Stanford? I set down a particularly valuable emerald. Of course, he was their starting quarterback for 2 seasons. Funny thing about that. Sam's voice had that edge he used when dismantling someone's financial strategy. I called my college roommate. He's coaching there now. Mason Carter never played for Stanford. Not a single game. The emerald rolled off the workbench. I didn't move to catch it. That's impossible. He has photos. From high school games, if you look closely. Lydia, I've been digging. His investment firm? It's registered to a P.O. box in Delaware. The office address he gave you? It's a virtual workspace that anyone can rent by the hour. My throat felt like sandpaper. You investigated my fiancé? Someone had to. He leaned against my workbench. Did you know he's been asking around about taking out a business loan against your company's assets? The room tilted slightly. He wouldn't do that without discussing it with me first. Wouldn't he? Sam's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression darkening. Mason's mother is here to see you. Megan? I hadn't expected to see her until the wedding planning started. Did you tell her where my workshop was? She found it herself. Sam's hand rested on my shoulder. Want me to stay? I shook my head. Whatever this was, I needed to handle it myself. Megan Carter swept in like an autumn storm, all designer clothes and perfectly maintained composure. But something was off. Her hands wouldn't stop fidgeting with her purse strap. Lydia, dear. She didn't quite meet my eyes. We need to discuss Mason. Sam squeezed my shoulder before leaving, closing the door with a soft click that felt oddly final. Is everything all right? I asked, though nothing felt all right anymore. No. Megan's composure cracked. It's happening again, and I won't let another family be destroyed. What's happening again? She pulled out a manila envelope. These are records of Mason's previous engagement, to Caroline Weber 2 years ago. Her family lost everything. My legs gave out. I sank onto my work stool, the envelope heavy in my hands. He convinced her family to invest in a tech startup. Megan continued, her voice hollow. The company never existed. By the time they realized, Mason was gone, along with $3 million. The workshop's walls seemed to close in. Why are you telling me this? Because your grandmother reminded me of Caroline's mother. She had the same suspicions, the same warnings. We ignored her. Megan's eyes filled with tears. I've enabled him for too long, covered his tracks, made excuses. But watching him target you, seeing your family try to protect you, I can't do it anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from Mason. Great news about that investment opportunity. Need to meet ASAP. Bringing paperwork. He's already starting, Megan whispered, reading the message over my shoulder. First comes the charm, then the business opportunity, then... The workshop door opened. Mason stood there, his perfect smile faltering as he saw his mother. Mom? His voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. What are you doing here? The right thing, finally. She straightened her spine, years of guilt falling away. I'm telling Lydia everything. Mason's smile vanished completely. In that moment, I saw what Grandma Ruth had warned about. The shadows behind his eyes, the darkness beneath the charm. You really shouldn't have done that, he said softly, and somehow those quiet words carried more menace than any shout. I clutched the manila envelope, my engagement ring suddenly feeling like a shackle. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. Or maybe that was just the sound of my world crumbling. Sam's footsteps pounded up the workshop stairs. Mason's hand moved toward his jacket pocket, and I realized with crystal clarity that this was only the beginning of what Grandma Ruth had foreseen. The shadows weren't just lingering anymore. They were closing in. The manila envelope sat unopened on my desk for 3 days. Every morning, I'd trace its edges with trembling fingers, but couldn't bring myself to look inside. Until Nate showed up with that haunted look in his eyes. We need to talk about your business accounts, he said, setting his laptop down. Something's wrong. I pushed Caroline Weber's envelope aside. Define wrong. Someone's been accessing your financial records. Multiple login attempts from unfamiliar IP addresses. His fingers flew across the keyboard. And there's this. He turned the screen toward me. A series of pending transactions appeared. Transfer authorizations I'd never seen before. That's impossible! I leaned closer. I never approved these. They're scheduled for tomorrow morning. 5 separate transfers, totaling just under $2 million. Nate's voice cracked. To an offshore account. My engagement ring caught the light, mocking me. Mason has my passwords. I know. Nate wouldn't meet my eyes. He called me yesterday, asking about expediting international transfers, said you were planning to expand the business overseas. The envelope suddenly felt like it was burning through my desk. I ripped it open, documents spilling across my keyboard. Police reports, bank statements, newspaper clippings, all telling the same story. Caroline Weber's family jewelry business, gutted from the inside out. My phone buzzed. Mason's text lit up the screen. Dinner tonight? Have exciting news about our future. Call Sam, I told Nate. And my grandmother, we need... The office door opened. Mason stood there, earlier than expected, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Sweetheart? His gaze flickered between me and the scattered documents. What's all this? Funny story, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I've been learning about your previous engagement. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Mason's smile vanished like it had never existed. My mother, he said flatly. She's always been unstable. Whatever she told you, Caroline Weber's father died in prison. I cut him off. After taking the fall for financial fraud. Fraud you orchestrated. He took a step forward. Nate shifted, placing himself between us. You don't understand. Mason's voice turned silky. Caroline's family was already corrupt. I simply exposed what was already there. But you and me were different, special. The transfer authorizations, I said. Were those special too? Something dangerous flashed across his face. Business opportunities require quick decisions. I was only trying to help. By stealing my life's work? By securing our future. He moved closer, that familiar charm sliding back into place. Think about it, Lydia. With your business acumen and my connections, we could build an empire. Built on what? Lies? Theft? Built on trust. His hand reached for mine. Don't let your family's paranoia ruin what we have. Your grandmother, your brother, they're afraid of change, of success. The worst part was, for a moment, I almost believed him. That's when I understood how Caroline Weber's family had fallen for it too. You're right about one thing, I said, sliding off my engagement ring. This is about trust. The mask slipped. Just for a second, but long enough to see the coldness underneath. Don't do anything you'll regret, he said softly. Too late. I nodded to Nate, who hit a key on his laptop. I just reversed all those transfer authorizations and copied every suspicious transaction to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Mason moved so fast I barely saw it, but Sam moved faster, appearing in the doorway behind him. Touch my sister, Sam said quietly, and find out what happens next. Mason's laugh was hollow. You have no idea what you're dealing with. No, Grandma Ruth's voice carried from behind Sam. But we're about to find out. She stepped into view, holding a phone. On its screen was a video call with Megan Carter. I'm sorry, Mason, his mother said. I've told them everything, about Caroline, about the others. It's over. The shadows Grandma Ruth had warned about weren't just visible now. They were consuming him from the inside out. As Mason's carefully constructed world began to crumble, I saw the truth. Sometimes the most dangerous monsters wear the most convincing masks. And sometimes, the only way to fight darkness is to drag it into the light. Mason vanished after the confrontation, but his ghost lingered in every notification on my phone. 3 days of silence, then a text that made my blood freeze. Remember that investment contract you signed last month? I called Nate immediately. Found him already waiting outside my office, pale-faced and clutching a stack of papers. Tell me you didn't sign anything, he said. My stomach dropped. It was just a routine business partnership agreement. Mason said it wasn't routine. Nate spread the documents across my desk. This gives him power of attorney over your business assets, and it's dated 3 weeks ago. The room spun. I grabbed the edge of my desk. That's not what I signed. He showed me something completely different. Digital document switching. Nate's voice was hollow. The version you saw isn't the one that got filed. My phone buzzed again. Mason, let's talk about your options. Dinner at 8? Don't respond, Grandma Ruth said from the doorway. I hadn't even heard her come in. He's setting a trap. I have to do something. My voice cracked. He could destroy everything I've built. That's exactly what he wants you to think. She moved to the window, staring out at the gathering dusk. Fear makes people predictable. My phone lit up with another message, this time from an unknown number. A photo appeared. Security camera footage of Mason entering a law office with a familiar figure. Is that? Nate leaned closer. That's Caroline Weber's father, from 2 days ago. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. He's working with them now. Of course he is, Sam said, striding in with his laptop. Because Caroline's father just got out of prison, and guess who's helping him rebuild his jewelry empire? I thought of my client list, my supplier connections, everything Mason had access to through that fraudulent contract. He's going to hand them my entire business infrastructure. Unless, Nate prompted. Unless I buy him out. The words tasted like ash. That's what this dinner invitation is really about. Grandma Ruth turned from the window. You're not going. I have to. If I don't. If you do, you'll walk right into his endgame. She gripped my shoulders. Think, child. Why now? Why partner with the very family he destroyed? My phone buzzed again. Another photo. Mason with Megan at what looked like a private airport. Today's date stamped in the corner. He's running, Sam said. The FBI investigation spooked him. This dinner? It's his last play before he disappears. A final message from Mason appeared. Tick-tock, sweetheart. Some opportunities only knock once. I looked at the contract spread across my desk, at the carefully crafted web of lies that had nearly snared me. Then at Nate's worried face, Sam's protective stance, Grandma Ruth's knowing eyes. What if? My voice strengthened. What if we let him think he's won? Nate straightened. You have a plan. Caroline's father wants revenge on Mason as much as I do. I picked up my phone. And I'm betting Mason never told him about our little FBI investigation. A trap within a trap, Sam mused. Risky. Everything's risky. I started typing a response to Mason. But Grandma's right. Fear makes people predictable. And right now, Mason's running scared. Be careful, Grandma Ruth warned. The cornered wolf bites hardest. I hit send on my reply. 8 o'clock. Let's discuss our future. Mason's response was immediate. That's my girl. The usual place? I watched the cursor blink, thinking of Caroline Weber's father, of all the other lives Mason had destroyed, of the shadows Grandma Ruth had seen lurking behind his smile. Yes, I typed. Time to finish what we started. Nate touched my arm. You don't have to do this alone. I'm not. I looked at my family, my real support system. I never was. Outside, storm clouds gathered on the horizon. By 8 o'clock, they'd break. And in their wake, either my business would be in ruins, or Mason would finally face the consequences of his actions. The choice was mine. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't afraid to make it. The restaurant's private dining room felt like a trap, with its dim lighting and closed doors. Mason sat across from me, perfectly composed in his tailored suit, while thunder rumbled outside. The storm had followed me here. You look tired, sweetheart. He poured wine I hadn't asked for. Business troubles keeping you up? I thought of the FBI agent hidden 2 tables away, of Sam watching the back exit, of Nate monitoring every digital transaction from his car. One wrong move could unravel everything. Actually, I pulled out a check. I've decided to accept your investment proposal. His eyes flickered, surprise, then triumph. I knew you'd see reason. $2 million. I slid the check across the table. In exchange for dissolving our contract, Mason's smile didn't waver, but his fingers tightened around his wine glass. Why the sudden change of heart? Let's call it insurance. I forced myself to meet his gaze. Against any future misunderstandings. The door opened. Caroline Weber's father walked in, right on schedule. Mason's composure cracked for just a second. Mason! Mr. Weber's voice carried years of prison-hardened edge. Quite a coincidence, running into you here. Robert! Mason recovered quickly. I was just discussing business with my fiancé. Ex-fiancé, I corrected. And we were actually discussing your pattern of fraudulent contracts. Mason's charm vanished like smoke. Careful, Lydia. Some doors can't be unclosed. Like the ones to federal prison? Robert Weber pulled out a chair. My daughter sends her regards. This is a private dinner, Mason said through clenched teeth. Not anymore. I nodded toward the window, where Megan Carter's silhouette appeared. Your mother had quite a lot to share about your overseas accounts. Thunder crashed closer. Mason's hand moved toward his jacket pocket, where he'd been keeping a thumb drive with what he thought were my complete business records. It's gone, I said quietly. While you were meeting with Robert yesterday, Nate cleared out your office. Amazing what a federal warrant can accomplish. You're bluffing. But sweat beaded on his forehead. The contract? was invalidated the moment you filed fraudulent documents. Robert Weber's smile was shark-like. The FBI is very interested in pattern recognition, Mason. First my family, then Lydia's. Mason stood abruptly, his chair scraping against hardwood. This is harassment. I'm leaving. No, said a new voice. You're not. The FBI agent stepped into view, badge glinting. Behind him, Sam blocked the other exit. Through the window, I saw Nate's car pull up, headlights illuminating Megan Carter as she walked toward the entrance. It's over, Mason. My voice didn't shake. The only question is how many charges you want to face. He laughed, a hollow, dangerous sound. You think this ends here? I've got copies of everything. One phone call, and your entire business infrastructure goes public. Every supplier, every client. Already warned, Nate said, entering with a laptop. They're actually quite interested in testifying about your attempted corporate espionage. Mason's facade finally shattered. The shadows Grandma Ruth had warned about weren't just visible now. They were consuming him, turning his handsome features ugly with rage. You stupid bitch, he snarled. I made you, without me. Without you, I cut him off. I'm exactly what I've always been, a woman who built something real, unlike you. He lunged, not at me, but at the laptop Nate held. Sam moved faster, tackling him before he reached it. The FBI agent stepped in, handcuffs glinting in the lightning flash from outside. Mason Carter, the agent began. You're under arrest for fraud, attempted extortion. I didn't stay to hear the rest. Walking out into the storm felt like breaking through a surface I'd been drowning under. Rain soaked my clothes, but I barely noticed. Grandma Ruth waited by my car, umbrella in hand. The shadows are lifting, she said simply. Not yet. I watched through the window as Mason was led away. There's still the trial, the publicity, the cleanup. But you're not afraid anymore. She squeezed my hand. That's what matters. Lightning split the sky, illuminating Mason's face as he was placed in a police car. For a moment, our eyes met through the rain-streaked glass. I saw no trace of the man I'd thought I loved, only the monster he'd always been. The storm was breaking, and somehow I knew the worst was finally over. The courthouse steps felt endless as I climbed them, each step heavier than the last. Mason's preliminary hearing should have been a victory. Instead, his last words to me in the restaurant haunted every moment. You think this is over? I'm taking everything. I hadn't understood what he meant. Not until now. Nate waited at the top, his face ashen. Lydia, wait. There's something you need to know. But I'd already seen her. Caroline Weber stood by the entrance, her designer outfit a stark contrast to her haunted eyes. Next to her, Mason's mother wrung her hands. He played us all, Caroline said as I approached. Even now, he's still playing us. Inside, my legal team huddled around a stack of documents. Sam paced nearby, phone pressed to his ear, speaking in urgent whispers. The air felt thick with defeat. What happened? My voice sounded distant, even to myself. Mason's lawyers filed a countersuit, Nate explained. He's claiming you orchestrated everything. The fraudulent contracts, the investment schemes, all of it. And he has evidence. That's impossible. But my hands started shaking. The FBI has proof. Fabricated emails, Sam cut in, ending his call. Dating back months. Messages that make it look like you were the mastermind and Mason was trying to stop you. He must have been planning this from the beginning. Caroline stepped forward. He did the same thing to my father, created a paper trail that made him look guilty, while Mason walked away clean. By the time we figured it out, it was too late, Megan Carter finished. I'm so sorry, Lydia. I should have warned you he'd do this. The courtroom doors opened. Mason walked out in handcuffs, flanked by his lawyers. But he was smiling, that same charming smile that had once made me trust him. Last chance, sweetheart, he said softly as they passed. Drop the charges, and maybe your business survives this. My attorney appeared, clutching more papers. Ms. Thompson, we need to discuss options. These allegations, they're incredibly detailed. If they stick, when? Mason called over his shoulder. Not if. I watched him disappear down the hallway, the pieces finally clicking together. Every late-night work session, every time he'd helped with my business records, every moment I'd thought he was supporting my dreams, he'd been building his defense. "The suppliers are already pulling out," Nate said quietly. "3 major contracts canceled this morning. Your reputation." "Is everything in this business?" I finished. The walls seemed to close in. He knew that. He always knew. Grandma Ruth's voice echoed in my memory. "The shadows are lifting." But she'd been wrong. The shadows weren't lifting. They were drowning me. "We can fight this," Sam insisted. "There has to be something." "Fight with what?" My voice cracked. "He's poisoned every relationship I've built. Even if we win, the damage is done. My business, my reputation." Caroline touched my arm. "Don't let him win. Not again." But Mason had already won. Every careful step I'd taken to expose him had somehow played into his hands. The very evidence I'd gathered against him was being twisted to destroy me instead. My phone buzzed. Another supplier terminating their contract. Then another. And another. "Lydia!" Nate's voice was desperate. "Look at me! We're not done! There's still—" "Still what?" I pulled away from his reach. "My life's work is imploding. Everything I built, he's taking it all." Through the courthouse windows, I could see reporters gathering. The story was already spreading. Successful businesswoman exposed as fraudulent schemer. Mason's perfect revenge. "I need air," I managed, pushing past everyone. No one tried to stop me. Outside, rain fell again. Or maybe it had never stopped. I stood in it, letting it soak through my court clothes, wondering how I'd missed the truth for so long. Mason hadn't just wanted my money. He'd wanted to destroy me completely. And now, watching my phone light up with more cancellations, more accusations, more evidence of my world crumbling, I realized the true depth of his revenge. He'd made me trust him, love him, believe in our future, all so this moment would hurt more. The shadows hadn't just lingered behind him. They'd been waiting for me all along, and I had walked right into them. 3 days after the courthouse, Nate burst into my workshop, laptop clutched to his chest like a shield. His face held something I hadn't seen in weeks. Hope. "We found it," he said, breathless. "The real paper trail." I looked up from the half-packed boxes of inventory, all that remained of my business. "What are you talking about?" "Mason's mother." He set the laptop down, hands shaking with excitement. "She kept everything. Every email, every transaction, every fake account he created. She's been documenting his schemes for years." The door opened again. Megan Carter walked in, followed by Carolyn Weber and my brother Sam. Each carried folders thick with documents. "It wasn't enough to just confess," Megan said quietly. "You needed proof, real proof." My phone buzzed. Mason's number, right on schedule. "He's coming," Sam said, checking his watch. "Thinks he's here to negotiate dropping the charges." "Are we ready?" Caroline asked, her voice steel-edged. The workshop door opened one final time. Mason stepped in, his lawyer conspicuously absent. His smile faltered when he saw the gathering. "Well," he drawled, recovering quickly. "Quite the reunion." "Sit down, Mason." My voice didn't shake, not anymore. "I'd rather stand." His eyes narrowed at his mother. "Planning another dramatic confession, Mom?" "No," Megan said, "just delivering evidence." Sam moved to block the door. Nate's fingers flew across his keyboard, and suddenly the workshop's walls lit up with projected documents. Years of Mason's carefully hidden paper trail, exposed in glowing detail. "Cute presentation," Mason said, but sweat beaded on his forehead. "All easily explained. By the secondary email server you kept in Singapore?" Nate cut in. "The one your mother had access to?" Mason's smile vanished. "You're bluffing." "Like you bluffed about Stanford?" Caroline stepped forward. "Or about the investment firm you never actually registered?" "Or about the offshore accounts?" I added, watching his facade crack. The ones you used to destroy Caroline's family before targeting mine? Everything you built, Megan said softly, was built on lies I helped you maintain. Not anymore. Mason's charm disappeared entirely, replaced by something cold and dangerous. You really want to play this game? Fine, release those documents. Watch your precious reputation burn with mine. My reputation? I laughed. Actually laughed. You already destroyed that. But here's what you didn't count on. I don't care anymore. His confidence wavered. What? You can have my reputation, my business, all of it. I stepped closer, because unlike you, I can build something real again, something honest. With what? He sneered. Your suppliers are gone. Your clients are right here, Caroline interrupted, pulling out her phone. Every family you've destroyed over the years. We've been talking, planning, building something new. Understanding dawned in Mason's eyes as Nate projected more documents, business plans, partnership agreements, signatures from dozens of Mason's former victims. A network, Sam explained, of people who know exactly who you are, what you do, how you operate. And this time, Megan added, we have proof. Mason lunged for the laptop, but I was ready. My hand caught his wrist, the same way he'd once held mine, while sliding on that engagement ring. The FBI already has everything, I said quietly. Every document, every scheme, every victim's statement. It's over. You're lying, but his voice cracked. No, Mason. For once, someone in this room is telling the truth. The workshop door opened one final time. The FBI agent from the restaurant stepped in, followed by two others. Mason Carter, he began. But Mason was already running, straight into Sam's waiting grip. As they led him away, I saw what Grandma Ruth had warned me about all those months ago. The shadows behind him weren't just visible now. They were dissolving, exposed to the light of truth. Lydia, he called back, desperate. Don't do this. We can still. No, I cut him off. We can't. Because you never saw me clearly. You saw a target, a means to an end. But I see you, Mason. Finally, I see you completely. The door closed behind him. In the sudden quiet, I felt something shift, not just in the room, but in myself. The weight of his deception lifted, replaced by something stronger. The truth. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I could breathe again. The courtroom emptied slowly after Mason's sentencing, but I stayed rooted to my seat, watching him being led away. 15 years. Not for what he'd done to me, but for all the others before me. The shadows had finally caught up with him. Ready to go? Nate's voice was gentle beside me. Almost. I touched the empty space on my finger where the engagement ring had been. It doesn't feel real yet. Outside, autumn sunlight painted the courthouse steps gold. Caroline Weber waited with a group of Mason's other victims, now my business partners. Their chatter about our new venture carried on the breeze. The Weber-Thompson Collective, Sam mused, joining us, has a nice ring to it. Better than Victims Anonymous, Caroline called over, making everyone laugh. Megan Carter approached hesitantly, clutching her purse. The others fell quiet. I've been thinking, she said, about shadows, about how they grow longer when we feed them with silence. Mom. The word slipped out before I could stop it. These past months, she'd become something between a confessor and a surrogate mother. She pressed something into my hand, a small velvet pouch. The diamonds he stole from Caroline's family. I've been keeping them safe, waiting for the right moment. Caroline's breath caught. Those were my grandmother's. And now they're yours again. I passed her the pouch. Maybe we can make something new from them. Something honest. Speaking of new beginnings, Grandma Ruth's voice carried from the courthouse doors. She descended the steps slowly, that knowing smile playing at her lips. I had another dream last night. Grandma, please, I laughed. No more prophecies. Not a prophecy, a certainty. She pointed toward the street. Like that. A dog, scraggly and thin, trotted up the courthouse steps. It headed straight for me, tail wagging hopefully. "He's been hanging around all morning," Sam said. "No collar, no chip, according to the security guard." The dog pressed against my legs, looking up with eyes that seemed to know everything I'd been through. Without thinking, my hand found his head. "See?" Grandma Ruth's eyes twinkled. The shadows lift, light returns, and sometimes it brings unexpected gifts. Nate knelt beside me, offering the dog his hand to sniff. "He needs a home." "We all do," Megan said softly. "That's why we're here." My phone buzzed. Another supplier, but not with a cancellation. An order, a big one. The first of many, according to Caroline's business plan. "The thing about shadows," Grandma Ruth mused, watching the dog lean into my touch, "is that they can't exist without light. Mason cast a long one, but he couldn't dim your shine." "Not really." The dog's tail thumped against the courthouse steps. Nate's hand found mine, warm and steady. Around us, my unlikely family of survivors talked about future plans, new beginnings, ways to help others spot the shadows before they grew too dark. "You knew, didn't you?" I asked Grandma Ruth. "Not just about Mason, but about all of this." "I knew you'd find your way through." She squeezed my shoulder. "The how of it, that was all you." The dog whined, drawing my attention back. In the sunlight, his coat wasn't scraggly at all, just different, unique, like he'd weathered his own storms before finding his way here. "What should we call him?" Nate asked. "Phoenix," Caroline suggested, "because he rose from nowhere, just like we will." "Too obvious," Sam countered. "What about Shadow?" I said quietly. "Because now we know. They're nothing to be afraid of. Not when you face them together." The dog's tail wagged faster, like he approved. Above us, clouds shifted, changing the patterns of light and shadow on the courthouse steps. But I wasn't watching the shadows anymore. I was watching the people who'd helped me step out of them. My phone buzzed again. Another order, another chance to build something real. Shadow pressed against my legs. Nate's hand squeezed mine, and Grandma Ruth's knowing smile said everything words couldn't. The shadows would always be there. But now I knew. They were just proof of how brightly the light could shine.
I spent $300,000 to watch my marriage die in paradise. My name is Alison, and until yesterday I thought I was still living my fairy tale. The small-town girl who made it big, married the charming prince, and finally won over his royal family. Funny how delusion works like that. "Champagne, Mrs. Edwards?" The flight attendant's voice pulled me from my spreadsheet. "First class to St. Lucia, the beginning of the perfect 40th anniversary surprise for my in-laws." "Thank you." I accepted the crystal flute, catching my mother-in-law Sylvia's slight eye roll from across the aisle. "Really, Alison, champagne at 10 a.m.? Quinn, my sister-in-law, smirked from her seat. "Though I suppose someone who works in finance would want to get their money's worth." I sipped slowly, letting the bubbles numb my tongue. 8 years of these little paper cuts, delivered with perfect manicured hands and practiced smiles. But this trip would change everything. I'd finally prove I belonged. "The resort looks divine," Sylvia commented, flipping through the amenities booklet. "Though I'm surprised you managed to book the ocean suite. Isn't that a bit ambitious for your budget?" "I wanted it to be special," I said, watching King, my husband, pretend to be absorbed in his phone. He hadn't spoken more than 10 words to me since takeoff. "Special indeed," Quinn chimed in. "Guess that executive bonus was good this year." I forced a smile. "The company's doing well." The flight attendant returned with warm towels. I pressed mine against my face, hiding behind the soft cotton for just a moment. $300,000. Every bonus, every commission, every extra hour at the office had gone into this week. The perfect rooms, the private tours, the sunset cruise, each detail meticulously planned over sleepless nights. "Darling," King finally spoke, touching my arm, "we should talk when we land." Something in his tone made my stomach clench. "Of course. Is everything okay?" He didn't answer. just returned to his phone. I noticed Quinn trying to suppress a smile. The rest of the flight passed in a blur of champagne and silence. As we descended into St. Lucia, the Caribbean sun painting the ocean gold, I should have felt triumphant. Instead, dread sat heavy in my chest. The resort entrance was a cathedral of luxury, marble floors, soaring ceilings, staff waiting with fresh coconuts and orchid leis. I was handling check-in when King appeared beside me, manila envelope in hand. "Here," he said, sliding it across the counter. "You should read this now." The young concierge, her name tag reading Kaya, glanced between us uncertainly. My fingers trembled as I opened the envelope. The words "petition for divorce" swam before my eyes. "What?" I whispered. "King, what is this?" "Oh, good, he's finally doing it," Quinn's voice carried across the lobby. "We were wondering when he'd get around to it." The room started spinning. Sylvia's perfectly composed face, Quinn's barely contained glee, the pitying looks from the staff. It all blurred together like a watercolour in the rain. "I'm sorry it had to be like this," King said, not sounding sorry at all. "But you've always had a flair for the dramatic. I figured you'd appreciate the setting." "You knew?" I turned to Sylvia. "All of you knew?" "Darling," she sighed, "we all knew this was temporary. You were never really one of us." I stood there, divorce papers in one hand, resort welcome packet in the other, as King walked away. He paused at the elevator, looking back with that smile I used to love. "She's more like us," he said softly. "You'll understand soon." The elevator doors closed on their satisfied faces, leaving me alone in the lobby. Well, not quite alone. Kaya the concierge was still there, horror evident in her wide eyes. "Mrs. Edwards," she started, "I'm so sorry." "Grant," I corrected automatically. "My name is Alison Grant." Something shifted inside me then, like a switch being flipped. All those years of smiling through their subtle cruelty, of trying to prove myself worthy, they crystallized into something hard and cold and clarifying. I looked down at the resort welcome packet, at all the carefully planned excursions and meals I'd booked, at the premium suite keys in my hand, at the credit card authorizations still pending in my name. "Kaya," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was, "I think I'll need to make some changes to our reservations." The smile that spread across my face didn't feel forced at all. For the first time in years, it felt absolutely real. The resort lobby's marble floor felt cold through my stockings. I hadn't realized I'd sunk to the ground until Kaya touched my shoulder. "Mrs. G.R. Allison, would you like some water?" A memory flashed last Christmas, spilling wine on Sylvia's imported rug. Her voice dripping with disdain. "Oh, darling, do try to be less common." I stood up, smoothing my skirt. "Actually, I'd like access to a computer." "Of course, you can use the business centre, or I can bring a laptop to your suite." My suite? The ocean view penthouse I'd booked for King and me, while his parents got the luxury villa and Quinn the beachfront suite. All paid for with my American Express black card. The business centre will do, and Kaya, I'd appreciate your discretion. She nodded, leading me through the resort's winding corridors. Each step cleared my head a little more, years of memories crystallizing into perfect, sharp clarity. The time Quinn accidentally spilled about my food stamp childhood at a charity gala. Sylvia's annual Christmas gift, a personal stylist consultation, because we must do something about your presentation, dear. King's gradual withdrawal from our joint accounts, always with a reasonable excuse. The business centre was empty, its row of computers facing the ocean. I sat down, logged into my banking app, and began. "First things first," I muttered, pulling up the flight reservations. Their return tickets were still under my name. Cancel, cancel, cancel. A soft ding from my phone, a text from Quinn. The infinity pool bar makes divine martinis. Do join us if you're done crying. I switched to the resort's booking system. Kaya had given me full access during check-in. I modified the room authorizations, limiting their stays to exactly 1 night. Then I transferred the remaining nights of their luxury suites to my card's travel rewards account. My phone buzzed again. Fiona, my best friend. "Girl, where are you? You haven't posted any vacation pics." I called her immediately. "Fee, he served me divorce papers at the resort in front of everyone." "He what?" Her voice rose several octaves. "That privileged piece of—" "It gets better. They all knew. They let me spend hundreds of thousands on this trip, knowing—" "Tell me you're not still paying for them to stay in paradise." I smiled, clicking confirm on the last cancellation. "Not exactly." "What did you do?" "Let's just say they might want to start looking for flights home. Economy flights." "You didn't." "I did, and tomorrow morning they're getting kicked out of their rooms." Fiona's laughter echoed through the phone. "You beautiful, vengeful goddess! Need me to come down there?" "No," I said, surprising myself. "I need to do this alone." After hanging up, I sat back and watched the waves crash against the shore. 8 years of trying to fit into their world, of shrinking myself to please them, of being the perfect wife, the grateful daughter-in-law, the quiet target for Quinn's barbs. A resort employee appeared with a fresh coconut. "Compliments of Miss Kaya," he said quietly. I sipped the cool water, remembering the day King proposed. How proud I'd been showing off the ring to my colleagues. Now I wondered if he'd use my money to buy it. My phone buzzed with an email notification. My financial advisor. "Unusual activity on your accounts. Please confirm these transactions." I opened my banking app again, this time looking at our joint accounts. There it was. King had been moving money around for months, small amounts at first, then larger transfers, all to an account I didn't recognize. "Oh, you stupid man," I whispered, taking screenshots. "You left a trail." I forwarded everything to my lawyer, then composed a new email to the resort's security office. Subject line, potential fraud investigation. Standing up, I caught my reflection in the business center's glass wall. I looked different somehow. Lighter. Dangerous. The elevator ride to my suite was silent. Inside, I unpacked my carefully chosen outfits, hanging each designer piece King's family had pressured me to buy, the clothes I'd worn trying to become one of them. My phone buzzed one last time. "King, don't make this difficult. Sign the papers, and we can all enjoy the rest of the week civilized." I walked to the balcony, watching his family lounging by the pool below. They looked so small from up here, like expensive dolls arranged in a perfect display. "Oh, we're way past civilized," I said to the empty room, raising my coconut in a mock toast. "Welcome to economy class, darlings." I set an alarm for 6 a.m. I wanted to be awake when security knocked on their doors. After all, I'd paid for this show. Might as well enjoy every minute of it. I woke before my alarm, the Caribbean sunrise painting my suite in shades of gold. Perfect timing. The show was about to begin. From my balcony, I had a clear view of the security team assembling in the lobby. Lionel, the head of security, checked his tablet one last time before leading his team toward the elevators. My phone lit up with a text from Kaya. "Security starting room checks now. Thought you'd want to know." I poured myself a mimosa from the room service cart and settled into my balcony lounger. The resort was quiet, peaceful, for about 3 more minutes. "This is absolutely unacceptable." Sylvia's voice shattered the morning calm. "Do you have any idea who we are?" I leaned forward, sipping my drink. Through the glass doors of their villa, I could see Lionel maintaining his professional composure. "Ma'am, I understand your frustration, but your room authorization expires in 1 hour. We'll need you to either extend your stay with a valid credit card or vacate the premises." "Valid credit card," Quinn's screech carried across the courtyard. "We're here on a family vacation. Alison handled all the arrangements." "Mrs. Grant's card is no longer authorized for these rooms," Lionel explained. "She's modified the reservations." A door slammed. King emerged from his suite, still in his monogrammed pajamas. "This is ridiculous. Get Alison down here now." My phone buzzed. King calling. I declined with a swipe, then watched him stare at his phone in disbelief. "Sir," Lionel continued, "you have 55 minutes to make alternative arrangements. After that, we'll be forced to remove your belongings." "Remove our—" Sylvia clutched her pearls. "This is outrageous. We're calling our lawyer." "Please do," Lionel replied smoothly, "though you might want to pack first." I finished my mimosa as they scrambled between rooms, their voices rising in panic. Quinn tried her credit cards, all declined. King's cards, same result. Sylvia's Platinum Amex, rejected. "This is that little gold digger's doing," Quinn's voice cracked. "She's trying to humiliate us." "Trying?" I murmured to myself. "Succeeding, darling." My phone lit up again. Sylvia, this time. I let it ring, imagining her face getting redder with each unanswered call. A commotion drew my attention to the pool area. King was arguing with the bartender, who kept shaking his head. "What do you mean my room charge privileges are revoked? I ordered that bourbon last night." "I'm sorry, sir. The system shows your account has been suspended." I ordered another mimosa through the resort's app, charging it to my still very active account. The same bartender who'd just denied King delivered it personally, giving me a subtle wink. "Thank you," I said, tipping generously in cash. "How's everyone doing down there?" He grinned. "Let's just say I've never seen anyone try to barter a Rolex for a hotel room before." Exactly 1 hour after the first warning, Lionel's team began removing luggage from the rooms. Quinn's designer suitcases, Sylvia's hat boxes, King's carefully packed golf clubs, all deposited in the lobby. "You can't do this!" Sylvia was nearly hysterical now. "We're the Edwards family." "Not for long," I muttered, thinking of the divorce papers in my safe. A small crowd had gathered in the lobby, watching the drama unfold. Among them, I noticed a man typing furiously on his phone, occasionally snapping pictures. A journalist, maybe? Perfect. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Alison, please, you've made your point. Let's talk about this like adults." I checked the number. King's new phone. He must have switched devices when I blocked his old one. "Like adults?" I texted back. "You mean like serving divorce papers in public? Or planning this ambush while I paid for everyone's luxury vacation?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, "You're being childish." I smiled, typing, "No, darling, I'm being economical. First class was wasted on you anyway." Below, Lionel was escorting my former family toward the resort entrance. Quinn was crying, mascara running down her face. Sylvia had moved from outrage to bargaining, offering her jewellery as collateral. King just looked shell-shocked, like he couldn't quite believe his perfect plan had backfired. Another text from Kaya. "Security found something interesting in Mr. Edwards's room, some papers you might want to see." "Bring them up," I replied. I ordered breakfast, the full spread charged to my room, and settled in for a long, leisurely morning. After all, I had 7 more days in paradise, a penthouse suite all to myself, and what promised to be some very interesting reading material. From somewhere in the resort, I heard Quinn's final screech, "How are we supposed to get home?" I raised my glass to the empty air. "Economy class is that way, sweetie. Better hurry. I hear coach fills up fast." The infinity pool sparkled like diamonds in the afternoon sun. I adjusted my new bikini, a little revenge purchase from the resort boutique, and settled onto a lounger with my laptop. Well, well, look who decided to show her face. Quinn stood over me, blocking my sun, Her designer cover-up was wrinkled, probably from sleeping in the airport lounge. "Quinn," I said pleasantly, "no luck with the flights?" "You vindictive bitch." She dropped into the chair next to me. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I took a deliberate sip of my mojito. Cancelled some unauthorized charges, protected my assets. Please, enlighten me. We're stranded here. Mother had a panic attack at the airport. They wanted $12,000 for last-minute first-class tickets. I checked my email. The business-class tickets I originally booked were only $6,000 each. But you're right, last-minute fares are crazy. A man at the nearby bar perked up, angling his phone in our direction. The same one from the lobby drama earlier. Quinn leaned closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. "King told us everything. How you trapped him with your new money, how you never fit in despite all his family's efforts." I laughed, actually laughed. "Is that what he said? Interesting. Did he mention the money he's been siphoning from my accounts?" Her face flickered. "What? Oh, you didn't know? Your perfect brother has been stealing from me for months. Want to see the bank statements?" "You're lying." I opened my laptop, turning it toward her. "Numbers don't lie, Quinn, but families do, don't they?" She stared at the screen, at the trail of transfers leading to an unknown account. Her perfectly maintained facade cracked slightly. "That's not... he wouldn't..." "Mrs. Grant?" Kaya appeared poolside, holding a folder. "Those documents you requested from security." "Perfect timing!" I took the folder, pulling out a stack of papers. "Look, Quinn, loan application's in my name, but that's not my signature, is it?" Quinn's face went pale. "I need a drink." "Oh, sorry, your room charges are suspended. Cash only." The man at the bar, definitely a journalist, was now openly recording on his phone. "You know what the funny thing is?" I continued, enjoying myself now. "I actually thought this trip would finally make me part of the family. $300,000 to buy your approval." "300?" Quinn choked. "That's impossible. First-class flights, luxury suites, private tours, that sunset cruise you were so excited about." I ticked off my fingers. "It adds up, but don't worry, I'm getting my money's worth." "By humiliating us?" "No, by finally seeing you clearly." I closed my laptop. You know what the resort staff told me? They overheard King planning this whole thing. The divorce, the public humiliation. It was all scheduled, like a show. Quinn's silence spoke volumes. "But here's what I don't get," I continued. "Why let me spend all this money first? Why not just serve the papers at home?" "Because," Quinn started, then stopped. "Because he needed the money," a new voice said. I turned to see Kaya, who hadn't left. "For her. Her." My stomach tightened. Kaya glanced around, then lowered her voice. "I wasn't supposed to say anything, but there's someone else. Someone who's been visiting him here. They had it all planned, using your money to fund their fresh start." Quinn stood up abruptly, knocking over her chair. "Quinn," I called after her retreating form, "don't you want to know who it is?" She walked faster. The journalist approached my lounger. "Hi, I'm Carson. I couldn't help overhearing. Would you be interested in telling your side of the story?" I looked at his phone, still recording. "You caught all that?" He nodded. "It's going viral already. Wife's first-class revenge is trending." I considered the implications. The humiliation they'd planned for me turned back on them. The perfect karma. "You know what, Carson? Let me buy you a drink. I have quite a story to tell." "Actually," Kaya interrupted, "there's something else you should know. About King's visitor." My phone buzzed. A news alert. Someone had posted security footage from the resort. The headline read, "Luxury Resort Drama. Scorned Wife Turns Tables on Gold-Digging Family." I smiled at Carson. "Looks like you have competition." "Trust me," he said. "When you hear the whole story, This is going to be much bigger than a viral video. I gestured to the bartender for 3 drinks. Well then, let's give the internet what it wants. But first, Kaya, who is she? The other woman? Kaya's expression was pained. That's just it. It's not a woman. The pieces started falling into place. King's sudden interest in Quinn's friend Jude. The secret account. The perfect plan. Oh, I said softly. Now that's going to make one hell of a story. Your story has 2 million views. Fiona's voice crackled through my phone. Twitter is calling you a queen. There are memes. I was having breakfast on my private balcony, watching the sunrise over the ocean. How bad is it? Bad? It's glorious. Sheik, first-class karma is trending. Someone made a TikTok reenactment of the lobby scene. A knock at my door interrupted her gleeful report. Hold on, Fee. I opened the door to find Jude standing there, looking expensive and uncomfortable in resort wear that matched King's usual style. We need to talk, he said. Fee, I'll call you back. The other woman just showed up. I paused. Well, the other man? Holy shit! Record everything! I hung up and gestured Jude inside. He walked to the balcony, taking in the ocean view I'd originally planned to share with King. Nice suite, he said finally. It should be. I paid for it. I sat down at my breakfast table. Coffee? How long have you known? About you and King. I poured myself another cup. Kaya told me yesterday, though I suppose I should have guessed, all those business trips with Quinn's charming best friend. He had the grace to look ashamed. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. No. I set my cup down carefully. How was it supposed to happen? We were going to tell you privately. But then you planned this trip, and King thought... Thought what? That humiliating me in paradise would be more fun? He said you trapped him with money, that you were controlling, that you'd destroy him if he left. I laughed. Is that what he told you while spending my money on your secret rendezvous? Jude shifted uncomfortably. The transfers were illegal, I finished. Forged signatures, unauthorized loans. Did you know about those? His silence was answer enough. Here's what I don't understand, I continued. Why let me spend hundreds of thousands on this trip? Why not just leave? Because, he swallowed, because we needed the capital for our new venture. The pieces clicked. The mystery account. You're starting a business. A luxury travel company. King said you'd never notice the money missing, that you were too busy trying to impress his family. My phone buzzed. Another news alert. The story had hit mainstream media. Well, I smiled, I'm certainly making an impression now. Alison, please, Jude stepped forward. We can fix this. Keep it quiet. Like how you kept your affair quiet, or how Quinn kept quiet while watching me plan this whole trip. Quinn didn't, he stopped. Didn't what? She didn't know about me and King. No one did except Sylvia. The coffee cup froze halfway to my mouth. His mother knew. She caught us last Christmas at the family estate. She said... He looked away. She said you were never really family anyway. I set the cup down before I could throw it. Get out. Alison. No. I stood up. You and King stole from me. You conspired to humiliate me, and now you want mercy. The publicity could ruin us. Should have thought of that before using my money to fund your happily ever after. A commotion outside caught our attention. On the beach below, King was arguing with the resort security, trying to get back onto the property. Your boyfriend's making a scene, I noted. Jude rushed to the balcony. He's drunk. He's been drinking since the story broke. Not my problem anymore. I picked up my phone. Though I should warn you, my lawyer's very interested in those forged documents. You wouldn't? I already did. The police have been notified. I showed him my screen. Emails from my legal team. Fraud charges are serious, Jude. Hope that travel company was worth it." He left without another word, hurrying down to the beach where King was now shouting my name. My phone rang, Fiona again. "Girl, you won't believe what just hit the internet. Someone leaked security footage of King and some guy kissing at the resort last Christmas." I watched Jude reach King, trying to pull him away from the growing crowd of onlookers. "Actually," I said, "I believe it completely. Want to hear something interesting about Sylvia?" Below, security was escorting both men off the property. Guests were filming on their phones. Carson, my journalist friend, was taking notes. "You know what, Fee?" I smiled, raising my coffee cup in a toast to the chaos. "I think I finally found the perfect way to thank them for all those etiquette lessons. Nothing says proper breeding quite like a public scandal." "Mrs. Grant?" Lionel knocked on my door. "There's a situation in the lobby. Mrs. Edwards Sr. is demanding to see you." I checked my reflection in the mirror, adjusting my designer sundress, another charge on my still active room account. "Is she alone?" "Yes." "And—" He hesitated. "She's crying." Now this I had to see. The lobby was quieter than yesterday's chaos, but heads turned as I walked through. A few guests even raised their phones, probably hoping for another viral moment. Sylvia sat on a plush sofa, her perfect posture finally broken. Her makeup was smeared, her designer outfit wrinkled. She looked human. "Alison," she said, standing, "please." I sat across from her, crossing my legs carefully. "Shouldn't you be at the airport?" "I saw the news," her voice cracked. "The videos, the story about King and Jude," I supplied helpfully. "Your son's lover, the one you caught last Christmas." She flinched. "I should have told you." "Yes," I agreed, "you should have. Instead, you watched me spend hundreds of thousands on this trip, knowing it was a setup." "I thought—" She twisted her handkerchief. "I thought if you gave him enough, he might stay. With you. The proper choice." I laughed, drawing more attention from nearby guests. "The proper choice? You mean the choice that wouldn't scandalize your country club friends? You don't understand. Our family name—" "Stop." I leaned forward. "Let me tell you what I understand. I understand that for 8 years you treated me like something stuck to your shoe. Every holiday, every family event, every charity gala, you made sure I knew I wasn't good enough." "That's not—" "Remember last Thanksgiving?" I continued, "when you announced to everyone that at least my humble background meant I knew how to properly tip the staff? Or the time you gave me a book on proper table etiquette for Christmas?" Sylvia's face crumpled. I was trying to help. "No, you were trying to fix me, to mould me into someone worthy of your precious family name, all while knowing your son was stealing from me to fund his secret life with another man. The money," she started. "Was mine," I finished. "Every dollar, my bonuses, my commissions, my inheritance from my grandmother. The money you all looked down on until you needed it." A small crowd had gathered, trying to look like they weren't listening. Carson was there too, phone ready. "What do you want?" Sylvia whispered. "Name your price to keep this quiet." I stood up, smoothing my dress. "You still don't get it. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you anymore." "Please," she grabbed my arm. "The press is calling. Our friends are calling. Quinn's had to delete all her social media." Funny how karma works, isn't it? I gently removed her hand. All those years of teaching me about proper behaviour, about family loyalty, about keeping up appearances. Now look who's causing a scene in public. "I'll lose everything," she said. "My charity board positions, my social standing. Like I lost my marriage, my dignity, the money I earned." I shook my head. "You raised vipers, Sylvia. Now they have nothing to eat but each other." Her sob echoed through the lobby. Perfect timing, just as a new group of guests walked in. "Oh, and Sylvia," I turned back. "Those forged loan documents the police are investigating, they have your son's fingerprints all over them. Might want to hire a good lawyer instead of worrying about the country club gossip." I walked away, head high, feeling the weight of eyes following me. At the elevator, Kaya was waiting with a tablet. "The local police want to take your statement," she said, "and there's a call from Good Morning America." Book the interview, I decided, but first I need a drink. My phone buzzed. "Quinn, they're saying King embezzled millions. Tell me you didn't know." I typed back, "Like you didn't know about Jude. We all keep secrets, Quinn. Some are just more expensive than others." The elevator opened to my floor. Inside my suite, I found a bottle of champagne with a note from Carson. "Story goes live tomorrow. Thought you might need this." I popped the cork and walked to the balcony. Below, Sylvia was being escorted to a taxi, still crying. In the distance, I could see a police boat approaching the resort's private dock. My phone lit up again. Fiona sending a link. Rich Family's Paradise Nightmare, the full story behind first-class karma. I raised my glass to the setting sun. "Here's to proper breeding," I whispered, "and the proper price of betrayal." The champagne had never tasted better. "The video of your husband's arrest has 10 million views," Carson said, showing me his phone. "People are calling it the first-class takedown." We were sitting at the resort's beachfront restaurant, watching police escort King and Jude from their budget hotel in handcuffs. The local news was covering it live. "Fraud charges," Carson continued, "plus unauthorized access to financial accounts. They're saying it could be years in prison." I sipped my coffee. And the business they were planning? Dead before it started. Investors pulled out the moment the story broke. He checked his notes. Oh, and Quinn's been fired from her charity board position, something about family values. How ironic! My phone buzzed. Good Morning America's producer confirming tomorrow's remote interview. They'd already sent a professional lighting setup to my suite. "You're going to be famous," Carson said. "People love a revenge story, but this is Shakespeare-level drama." "Mrs. Grant," Kaya approached our table, "there's a woman in the lobby asking for you. Says she's your mother-in-law's sister." I hadn't even known Sylvia had a sister. The woman waiting in the lobby was Sylvia's opposite. Warm smile, simple clothes, genuine presence. "Alison, I'm Margaret." She extended her hand. "I've been wanting to meet you for years. But Sylvia, well, she's particular about family gatherings." "You mean I wasn't good enough for them?" Margaret laughed. "Honey, none of us were. Why do you think I wasn't invited to holidays?" She sat down. "I saw the news. About King, about the money. Sylvia called me crying." "Looking for sympathy?" "Looking for a loan, actually. Their accounts are frozen pending the investigation." She shook her head. 8 years you put up with them. I lasted 3 family dinners before telling Sylvia exactly where she could put her etiquette books." Despite everything, I smiled. "Would have loved to see that." "Listen," Margaret leaned forward. "I know you don't need advice from another Edwards, but don't let this make you bitter. What you did, pure poetry, but don't let it define you." My phone buzzed again, a text from Quinn. "They're taking Daddy's boat. Mum's having a breakdown. Please help." I showed Margaret the message. "Ah," she said, "the mighty have fallen. Question is, are you going to catch them?" "Why should I?" "You shouldn't. But mercy, when you have all the power, says more about you than them." I thought about it. "What would you do?" "Me?" She grinned. "I'd let them sweat a bit longer. Then maybe, if they showed real remorse, I'd consider calling off a few dogs, but only after they'd learned their lesson." Carson appeared with more news. "Twitter's exploding. Someone leaked audio of King and Jude planning the whole thing. They're calling you a feminist icon." Margaret stood up. "Sounds like you've got work to do, but remember, the best revenge isn't just about destroying your enemies. It's about building yourself up stronger." After she left, I check my messages, interview requests, book deals, even a movie option. The story had struck a nerve. "Mrs. Grant," Lionel approached. "The police would like to know if you want to press additional charges. They found more evidence of financial misconduct." I thought about Margaret's words, about power and mercy. "Tell them," I paused, "tell them I'll think about it." My phone lit up with a news alert. "Socialite families fall from grace, a modern karma tale." "You know what's funny?" I told Carson. "They always said I wasn't good enough for their world. Now their world isn't good enough for anyone." "What's your next move?" he asked. I watched the sunset paint the ocean gold, the same view I'd planned to share with King, now mine alone. "First, I'm going to finish enjoying my very expensive vacation. Then," I smiled, "I'm thinking of starting my own investment firm. Something about helping women protect their assets from fraudulent partners." "Nice angle," Carson nodded, turning pain into purpose. Kaya brought over a letter from Fiona. Inside was a check and a note. "For your next first-class trip, this time fly solo." I tucked the check away and ordered champagne. The resort staff, now practically my family, brought it with knowing smiles. "To Karma," Carson raised his glass. "No," I corrected, "to new beginnings." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with another text from Quinn. "The press is outside our house. Please, we're desperate." I left it on read. Some lessons need time to sink in. The champagne bubbles caught the last rays of sun, turning golden like the future ahead. First class indeed. "Your final signature, Mrs. Grant." My lawyer slid the last divorce document across his desk. "Once filed, it's officially over." Through his office window, I could see reporters still camped outside. The story hadn't died. It had evolved. Every new revelation added fuel. King's guilty plea, Jude's immunity deal, Quinn's leaked texts about helping hide the money. "Before you sign," he said, "there's been another offer from the Edwards family." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh? Sylvia's willing to testify against King in exchange for your discretion regarding certain family matters. Too late for that." I signed with a flourish. "The documentary starts filming next week." My phone buzzed. Margaret. "Saw Sylvia at the country club. They revoked her membership. Karma's got good taste." The intercom crackled. "Mrs. Grant, Good Morning America is calling about the book deal." I gathered my things, including the final divorce papers. "Tell them I'll call back. I have a meeting." Outside, cameras flashed. I'd learned to ignore them, striding past in my Louboutins, bought with my own money, not stolen funds. Fiona waited in her car. "Ready?" "For this?" "Been ready my whole life." We pulled up to a sleek office building. The sign read, "Phoenix Financial, Women Protecting Women." Inside, dozens of women waited in the conference room. Each had a story. A King, a Sylvia, a betrayal wrapped in privilege and presumption. "Ladies," I began, "welcome to your financial freedom." My phone lit up. Quinn calling. Again. I declined it. Again. "Mrs. Grant," my assistant appeared. "There's a visitor. Says she's family." Margaret walked in, carrying a familiar etiquette book. "Thought you might want to burn this. Sylvia's personal copy." The women in the room laughed. "Actually," I said, "let's keep it. Reminder of where we started." My presentation screen showed the viral photos. King in handcuffs, Sylvia crying in the resort lobby, Quinn being served court papers for conspiracy. "See these people?" I told the room. "They thought money meant power, that wealth meant worth. They were wrong." Fiona pulled up the latest news. "Edwards family estate seized in fraud investigation." "Your story changed everything," one woman said. "Made us realise we're not alone." My phone buzzed. Carson. "Documentary crew found more footage. You won't believe what Sylvia admitted on camera." "You know what the best revenge is?" I asked the room. Not the viral videos, not the criminal charges. It's this, turning their weapons into our shields. Margaret smiled. Poetic. The intercom chimed. Mrs. Grant, King's lawyer, is calling about a settlement. Tell him I don't need his money. I turned back to the women. I'm building my own empire. We all are. My phone lit up again. Kaya sending a resort photo. The ocean view penthouse, now permanently reserved in my name. For your next victory celebration, she wrote. Ladies, I raised my water glass. Welcome to first class. This time we're flying ourselves. The room erupted in applause. Outside, more reporters waited. But now they asked different questions, not about scandal and revenge, but about empowerment and change. My phone buzzed one last time. Sylvia, please, the police are taking everything. I typed back, remember when you said I wasn't good enough for your family? Turns out your family wasn't good enough for anyone. Then I blocked her number. In my office later, I found a package from the resort. Inside, the room key from that first night, mounted in a frame with a note from Lionel. The moment Karma checked in. I hung it beside my degrees and financial licenses. A reminder that sometimes rock bottom is just the foundation you need to build something better. Fiona poked her head in. Ready for the investor meeting? I grabbed my briefcase, pausing at the etiquette book on my desk. 8 years of trying to fit their mould when I should have been breaking it all along. You know what? I smiled. I'm booking a flight tonight. First class, window seat. Running away? No. I touched the framed key. Going back to where it started. Some women from the support group want to learn about financial independence. Thought I'd teach them somewhere beautiful. The resort? Where else? After all. I picked up my phone, already pulling up the booking app. I hear the Karma there is excellent this time of year. I booked the flight. 1 seat, first class, no one beside me, just how I liked it now. The empire I was building might not have the Edwards name, but it had something better. Truth, strength, and women rising together. That's worth more than first class could ever buy.
Some photographs have the power to shatter your entire world. The one in my hands, torn precisely down the middle, with my father's image brutally excised, did exactly that. I'm Ella, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I was just doing my mother a favor by organizing her dresser drawers while she recovered from minor surgery. Now, standing in her bedroom with trembling hands, I realize I've stumbled onto something far more sinister. What are you doing in here? Mother's voice cuts through the air like a whip. She's standing in the doorway, one hand gripping her walking cane, the other pressed against the doorframe. For someone who's supposed to be resting, she moves remarkably fast. I found this. I hold up the mutilated photograph. Care to explain why you're literally cutting Dad out of our family history? Her face hardens. Put that back where you found it. No, I want to know why. And where are all the other photos? The ones from my graduation, my 16th birthday, that summer in Maine. Those memories aren't relevant anymore. She limps into the room, her designer nightgown swishing against the hardwood floor. Your father isn't part of our lives now. We have Alan. We have Megan. We've moved forward. Moved forward? The words taste bitter in my mouth. You're trying to erase him, like he never existed. Don't be dramatic, Ella. It doesn't suit you. She reaches for the photograph, but I pull it away. Your father chose his path when he refused to adapt to our lifestyle. He couldn't handle success, couldn't handle moving up in the world. He was content being ordinary. Being honest, you mean? He didn't want to play social climbing games with Alan's crowd. Her laugh is sharp, dismissive. Is that what he told you? Your father was weak. He held us back. Alan gave us everything. This house, your education, the connections that got you your job at the tech company. Dad paid for my education, I snap. Every penny of it. Through the alimony you demanded. Something flickers across her face. Guilt, fear, it's gone before I can identify it. You're being ridiculous. Now give me that photograph and go home. Ryan must be wondering where you are. Ryan knows exactly where I am, and he knows what you're like. I carefully fold the photograph and slip it into my pocket. You know what's interesting, Mother? You're so focused on erasing Dad that you didn't notice what else was in that drawer. She freezes. What are you talking about? The bank statements. The ones showing where Dad's alimony payments really went. Not to my education, but to Alan's failing business ventures. I watched the colour drain from her face. Funny how that worked out, isn't it? You had no right to look at those documents. Her voice shakes with rage. Those are private matters between Alan and me. Private fraud, you mean? Because I'm pretty sure the court would be interested in knowing how you've been misappropriating those funds. She straightens, her chin lifting. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts, just like you stated facts about Dad being ordinary and weak. The difference is, I have proof. Get out. She points toward the door with a trembling finger. Get out of my house right now, and don't come back until you've learned some respect. I walk past her, pausing in the doorway. You know what the real difference is between you and Dad. He never had to destroy someone else to feel worthy. As I drive home, the torn photograph burns in my pocket like a brand. My hands grip the steering wheel until my knuckles turn white. I always knew my mother was capable of cruelty, but this systematic erasure of my father, this calculated destruction of his presence in our family history, it's different, it's war. And if she wants war, I'll give her one. Because some things are worth fighting for, and some betrayals can never be forgiven. The truth is, I'm my father's daughter, and like him, I know how to play the long game. The crystal wine glasses clink with artificial cheer as Alan raises his for yet another toast. Father's Day dinner at their mansion, a tradition Mother insists on maintaining, despite having effectively exiled my actual father from our lives. To family, Alan announces, his cultured voice carrying across the formal dining room. And to new beginnings, I catch Megan rolling her eyes across the table. At least my half-sister sees through this charade. Ryan squeezes my hand under the table, a silent anchor keeping me from drowning in the hypocrisy. Speaking of new beginnings, Mother says, dabbing her lips with a monogrammed napkin. Ella, darling, I heard through Caroline that the Peterson Group is looking for a project manager, much more suitable than your current position. I'm leading my own team at Oracle Tech, Mother. I don't need the Petersons' nepotism. Don't be naive. Connections are everything in this world. Look how well Alan's guidance helped you secure your current role. Ryan stiffens beside me. He'd recommended me for the position, not Alan. Before I can correct her, Mother continues. Besides, the Petersons' son Thomas is recently divorced. He always had a soft spot for you in high school. I'm engaged, I remind her, twisting the diamond ring on my finger. To Ryan, remember? Of course, dear, but engagements can be fluid. One should always keep their options open. The silence that follows is deafening. Ryan's fork scrapes against his plate with deliberate precision. Mother, Megan interjects, maybe we could talk about something else, like my study abroad plans. Ah, yes, Mother brightens immediately. Alan and I have been discussing your future. Cambridge would be perfect for you. We've already spoken to the dean. Cambridge? I set down my wine glass. That's expensive, even with Dad's alimony. Your father's contributions are irrelevant, Mother cuts in sharply. We have everything arranged. A sudden horrible suspicion takes root. With what money exactly? That's hardly dinner conversation, Alan interrupts smoothly. More wine, anyone? No. I push back my chair. I want to know, because Dad's been sending regular payments for my education fund. Where did that money go? Mother's face hardens. Ella, you're making a scene. Answer the question. Your education fund has been reallocated. Megan's future takes priority now. You're established, with a adequate career. Ryan stands abruptly. We should go. Sit down, Mother commands. Both of you. We haven't finished discussing your career options, Ella. The Petersons are irrelevant, I finish. Just like Dad's contributions were irrelevant, just like my future is irrelevant. You're being dramatic, again. Mother sighs theatrically. This is why we worry about you, dear. Such emotional instability. Perhaps you should consider therapy before making any permanent decisions about marriage. Ryan's chair scrapes back. Mrs. Harrison, with all due respect. That's quite enough, Alan interrupts. Ella, your mother only wants what's best for you. Sometimes that means making difficult decisions. Like stealing my education fund for Megan. The words explode out of me. Or using Dad's alimony to prop up your failing business ventures. The colour drains from Alan's face. Mother's wine glass trembles in her hand. How dare you, she whispers. After everything we've done for you, everything you've done to me, I correct her, and to Dad, and now to Megan. It never ends with you, does it? Megan looks between us, confusion clouding her features. What's she talking about, Mom? Nothing, darling. Your sister is just having one of her episodes. Episodes? I laugh bitterly. Is that what we're calling the truth now? I stand, pulling Ryan with me. Enjoy Cambridge, Megan. I hope it's worth the price. Ella, Mother calls as we reach the door. If you walk out now, don't expect to be welcome back. I turn, meeting her gaze. Don't worry, Mother. I wouldn't dream of interrupting your perfect new family again. But remember, karma has a way of balancing the books. As Ryan drives us home, the torn photograph in my pocket seems to burn with new intensity. Mother thinks she's won, that she's successfully erased Dad and replaced him with her gilded new life. She has no idea what's coming, because now I have proof of her financial manipulation, and more importantly, I have nothing left to lose. The game is just beginning. The financial records spread across my kitchen table tell a story of systematic betrayal. Each bank statement, each transfer notification, each carefully hidden transaction forms another piece of the puzzle I've spent weeks assembling. Ryan enters, setting down 2 cups of coffee. You need to see this, I tell him, pushing forward a particular document. Look at the dates. He studies the paper, his jaw tightening. The same day your dad made his alimony payment. Every month for the past 3 years, Mother transferred the exact amount to Alan's business account within hours of receiving it. My fingers trace the numbers. Dad's been working double shifts to make these payments, thinking they were for my education fund. Have you told him? The question hangs heavy in the air. How do you tell someone their ex-wife has been stealing from them for years? My phone buzzes. A text from Megan. Mum's freaking out, says you've been accessing private accounts. What's going on? Before I can respond, Mother's name flashes on my screen. I let it ring. You'll have to face her eventually, Ryan says. I know, but first I need to talk to Dad. Dad's apartment building hasn't changed since the divorce. Same cracked steps, same flickering hallway lights. He opens the door, wearing his mechanic's uniform, grease still under his fingernails. Ella, everything okay, sweetheart? I hold up the folder of documents. We need to talk. His face falls as I lay out the evidence. Each revelation hits him like a physical blow. The diverted payments, Alan's failing business, Mother's elaborate web of lies. I should have known, he says finally, his voice hollow. When Laura started demanding more alimony, claiming it was for your future, he rubs his face. I was so focused on making sure you had opportunities, I didn't question it. Dad, this isn't your fault. Isn't it? I knew what your mother was like, how she'd do anything to maintain her lifestyle. He picks up one of the bank statements. Does Alan know? He's complicit. They've been working together to... My phone interrupts, Mother's name appearing again. This time I answer. How dare you? Her voice trembles with rage. Breaking into private accounts, spreading lies about your family. They're not lies if I have proof. Proof? You have nothing but misinterpreted documents and your own bitter imagination. If you continue with these ridiculous accusations, you'll what? Cut me off? Steal more money? Try to sabotage my relationship again? I'm trying to protect you, she hisses. You have no idea what you're doing. If you pursue this, there will be consequences. For everyone. Dad gently takes the phone. Hello, Laura. His voice is steady, controlled. I think it's time we had a conversation about fraud. The silence on the other end is deafening. I've worked every available shift for 3 years to provide for our daughter's future, he continues. If you think I won't pursue legal action— Frank, she cuts in, her tone suddenly honeyed. Surely we can discuss this reasonably, like adults, without involving lawyers or making hasty decisions. The time for discussion was before you started stealing from our daughter. Stealing. I was investing in our family's future. Alan's business ventures are failing, I interrupt, leaning toward the phone. Just like everything else built on lies. You ungrateful child. After everything we've done for you— Save it, Dad says. Expect to hear from my lawyer. As he ends the call, my phone immediately lights up with texts from Megan. Mom's hysterical. Alan's threatening to sue. What did you do? I show Dad the messages. This is just the beginning, isn't it? He nods grimly. Your mother won't go down without a fight. Are you sure you want to do this? I think of the torn photograph, still in my pocket, of years of manipulation and lies, of Dad working himself to exhaustion while Mother and Alan lived in luxury. Some things are worth fighting for, I tell him, echoing his words from years ago. And some people need to learn that actions have consequences. My phone buzzes again, an email from Mother's lawyer. The war has officially begun, but this time, I'm ready for battle. The lawyer's office feels too small for the weight of what I'm about to learn. Dad sits beside me, his weathered hands clasped tightly in his lap, while his attorney, Marcus Chen, reviews the documents we've gathered. This goes beyond simple misappropriation, Marcus says, spreading out the financial records. They've been systematically— A knock interrupts us. His secretary peers in. Sorry, but there's an urgent call from the Harrison residence. Mrs. Harrison insists it's an emergency. I share a look with Dad. Put it through. Megan's voice fills the room, breathless and panicked. Ella, you need to come home right now. Mom's selling everything. Your old stuff, the family albums, everything from before Alan. She says if you want to play hardball, she'll make sure there's nothing left of your past to fight for. My throat tightens. What do you mean, selling? There's an estate sale company here. They're pricing Frank's, old desk, your childhood books, even Mom's wedding ring from him. She says it's all just worthless baggage now. Marcus raises an eyebrow, making notes. Dad's knuckles whiten. Try to stall them, I tell Megan. I'm on my way. There's more, she adds, voice dropping. I overheard Mum on the phone with Cambridge. She's using your old college fund, what's left of it, as a deposit for my tuition. She says it's only fair since you're trying to destroy the family. The familiar gates of the Harrison estate mock me as I pull up 30 minutes later. The circular driveway is lined with expensive cars, vultures disguised as antique dealers, picking through the bones of my childhood. Mother stands in the foyer, directing workers with regal efficiency. Her face hardens when she sees me. Come to survey the damage. She gestures to a pile of tagged items. Amazing how much worthless junk one accumulates over the years. I spot Dad's desk among the items, the one he built by hand for my 13th birthday. The price tag reads $50. This isn't about the money anymore, is it? I ask quietly. Oh, but it is. You want to talk about stolen funds? Let's discuss how much your father's inadequacies cost this family. Years of living below our potential, of making do with less than we deserved. We were happy. You were ignorant. She picks up a photo album, carelessly flipping pages. Look at these. Camping trips in a borrowed tent. Birthday parties at fast food restaurants. Is that what you're fighting so hard to preserve? Those memories are real, unlike everything you've built here. Real doesn't pay for Cambridge, she snaps. Real doesn't secure Megan's future. I learned that lesson with you. Sentiment is worthless in this world. A worker approaches with Dad's desk. Where do you want this, Mrs. Harrison? The dumpster will do. Stop. My voice shakes. That desk isn't yours to sell. Everything here belongs to me now. Alan made sure of that in the divorce settlement. Her smile turns cruel. Speaking of Alan, He's fascinated by your little investigation, especially the part where you accessed private company records. His lawyers are quite interested in pursuing corporate espionage charges. The threat lands like a physical blow. My job, my future with Ryan, everything I've worked for. She'd destroy it all to maintain control. Megan appears at the top of the stairs, her face pale. "Mum, please. This is going too far." "Stay out of this, darling. Your sister needs to learn that actions have consequences." I look around at the dismantled pieces of my past, the books Dad read to me, the photos of happier times, the handmade furniture that represented his love, all reduced to price tags and profit margins. "You're right," I say finally. "Actions do have consequences, and you've just shown me exactly what needs to be done." I pull out my phone, dialing Marcus's number. Proceed with everything we discussed, all of it. Mother's smile falters. "What are you doing?" "Teaching you about consequences." I meet her gaze steadily. "You wanted a war? Congratulations, you've got one." As I walk out, Megan calls after me. I turn to see her holding Dad's desk. "I'll keep it safe," she promises. For the first time, I see something of myself in my half-sister, a reflection of the same pain, the same determination to survive our mother's machinations. The game has changed. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about justice. Marcus's words hit like hammer blows in the conference room. They filed a restraining order. You can't go within 500 feet of the Harrison estate or contact Laura directly. On what grounds? Harassment, emotional distress, potential corporate espionage. He adjusts his glasses. Alan's lawyers are aggressive. They're also freezing any remaining joint accounts and assets pending investigation. Ryan squeezes my hand under the table. Can they do that? They can try. Marcus shuffles through papers. But that's not the worst part. They're claiming Frank's alimony payments were voluntary gifts, not court-ordered support. If it sticks, my phone buzzes. Megan, Mom's having movers pack up your remaining things. Says you have an hour to collect them or they're going to charity. I stand abruptly. This is exactly what she wants. To force my hand, make me violate the order. Don't give her the satisfaction, Dad says quietly. Another text from Megan. She's throwing out your graduation photos. Ryan catches my arm. I'll go. The order doesn't apply to me. No. I pull away. This ends now. The drive to the Harrison estate feels like a descent into enemy territory. I park across the street, technically outside the restriction zone, and watch the movers cart box after box to a waiting truck. Mother appears on the front steps, directing traffic like a conductor, orchestrating her revenge symphony. She spots my car and smiles, pulling out her phone, presumably to call the police. My own phone rings. Alan. You're making this worse for yourself, he says without preamble. Like you made it worse for Dad, stealing his alimony payments for your failing business ventures. That money was an investment in this family's future. Your future if you'd been smart enough to see it. My future? I laugh bitterly. You mean like the future you promised Dad's desk had at the dump? Speaking of futures, his voice turns silky. I had an interesting conversation with Thomas Peterson yesterday about certain proprietary information that might have been compromised during your investigation. The threat is clear. My career, everything I've built, balanced on a knife's edge. What do you want? Drop the lawsuit, sign a non-disclosure agreement, accept that your mother knows what's best for this family. Through the windshield, I watch Mother supervise the disposal of my life. A photo album falls, spilling memories across the driveway. She doesn't even glance down. You have until tomorrow to decide, Alan continues. After that, the Petersons will be very interested in reviewing Oracle Tech's security protocols. The line goes dead as a police cruiser pulls up. Mother's smile widens as she points toward my car. My phone buzzes again. Megan, found something you need to see. Meet me at Riverside Park in 20 minutes. Come alone. The park is deserted when I arrive. Megan sits on our old favorite bench, clutching a leather portfolio. I took this from Mum's study, she says without looking up. It's everything. Documents, letters, photos she didn't destroy. There's even stuff about Alan's company that, well, you should see for yourself. Why are you helping me? She finally meets my eyes. Because yesterday she started talking about my future the same way she used to talk about yours, about suitable matches and social obligations and living up to the Harrison name. I saw my whole life mapped out in her words, and her voice cracks. I don't want to become her next project. I open the portfolio. Inside, years of carefully documented manipulation unfold in Mother's precise handwriting. Bank statements, investment records, correspondence with Alan's lawyers dating back to before the divorce. There's more, Megan whispers, about what really happened when she left Dad, your dad. It wasn't like she told everyone. My hands shake as I turn the pages, each revelation worse than the last, building a picture of calculated destruction that spans decades. What are you going to do? Megan asks. I close the portfolio, decision crystallizing like ice in my veins. Exactly what she taught me to do. Play the long game. Because Mother's greatest lesson wasn't about social climbing or maintaining appearances. It was about patience, and revenge is a dish best served cold. 6 months of careful planning collapse with a single email from Oracle Tech's HR department. My hands shake as I read it again. Pending investigation into allegations of corporate espionage, immediate suspension, required to surrender all company devices. Ryan stands in our kitchen doorway, his own termination notice in hand. Alan must have friends on the board, or Mother pulled strings through the Peterson connection. I close my laptop. We both know she never does anything halfway. My phone lights up. Megan's third call today. I let it go to voicemail, like the others. After last week's revelation about her role in monitoring my activities for Mother, trust feels like a luxury I can't afford. Marcus called, Ryan says quietly. The restraining order's been extended. They're adding harassment charges over the portfolio documents Megan gave you, which conveniently disappeared from evidence. I laugh, hollow and sharp. Another setup. I should have seen it coming. The doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see 2 police officers. My stomach drops. Miss Harrison, one holds up a warrant. We need you to come with us. The interrogation room is cold, sterile. Detective Morris slides photos across the table. Screenshots of emails I never sent, financial transactions I never made, meetings I never attended. These paint a concerning picture, she says. Industrial espionage, fraud, harassment. Mr. Harrison's company lost millions due to leaked information. Those documents are forged, like the portfolio your sister gave you, the one you claim disappeared. She raises an eyebrow. Your mother's quite concerned about your mental state, says you've been fabricating conspiracy theories, making threats. Of course she does. She's offered to drop charges if you agree to psychiatric evaluation and treatment. The pieces click into place. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about discrediting me completely. Dad meets me outside the police station, looking older than I've ever seen him. I mortgaged my apartment to post bail, he says. It was all I could do. I'm sorry. The words feel inadequate. I never meant to drag you into this. You didn't. Laura did, years ago. He hands me an envelope. This came for you at my place. Inside is a letter from Cambridge University, confirming Megan's enrollment, funded by the last of my education trust. Below that, a note in Mother's elegant script. Some lessons require sacrifice. Consider this your final education in family loyalty. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Mom knows about Ryan's startup plans. Says she'll make sure no investor touches it. Please, just stop fighting her. Megan. That night, Ryan holds me as I finally break down. We've lost everything, I whisper. Our jobs, our savings, your company's future, all because I couldn't let it go. We haven't lost each other, he says, but there's a hesitation in his voice that wasn't there before. Morning brings more devastating news. Marcus calls early. Alan's lawyers are pushing for criminal charges. With the fabricated evidence they've planted, you're looking at serious jail time unless I agree to Mother's terms. Psychiatric commitment, a full retraction, and a binding agreement never to contact any member of the Harrison family again. He pauses, including Megan. I stand at our apartment window, watching the sun rise over a world that seems to be closing in from all sides. Mother's chess pieces are perfectly arranged, my career destroyed, my reputation in tatters, my relationship strained, and my freedom hanging by a thread. The torn photograph sits on my desk, Dad's missing half a reminder of everything that's been taken. But as I stare at Mother's smiling face in the remaining piece, something shifts inside me. She taught me well, about patience, about planning, about the art of destruction. But she forgot one crucial lesson. Sometimes you have to lose everything to see what really matters. My phone buzzes again. Another unknown number. Not all evidence disappeared. Some copies still exist. Meet tonight if you want the truth. A friend. It's probably another trap. But at this point, with everything stripped away, I have nothing left to lose. And nothing is more dangerous than someone with nothing left to lose. The Harrison estate's security lights cast long shadows across the manicured lawn as I approached the garden gate. My mysterious informant chose midnight for our meeting, fitting for what feels like my last stand. Instead of a stranger, I find Megan perched on the stone bench, clutching a laptop. Her hands tremble as she opens it. I made copies, she whispers, of everything, the real documents, not Mother's fabricated versions, including what she did to Alan's first wife. Before I can respond, floodlights blast the garden in harsh white light. Mother emerges from the shadows, Alan close behind. I'm disappointed, Megan. Mother's voice carries that familiar note of calculated disapproval. Though I suppose betrayal runs in your sister's blood. It's over, Laura. I step between her and Megan. The truth's coming out, all of it. Truth, she laughs softly. You still don't understand, do you? Truth is whatever people believe. And right now, they believe you're an unstable, vindictive daughter who couldn't handle her parents' divorce. Show her, Megan says quietly. I open the laptop, turning it toward Mother and Alan. Karen Harrison's suicide note. The original version, not the one you doctored for the police. She knew about the embezzlement, didn't she? About how you and Alan were stealing from her family's company. Alan's face drains of color. Mother's smile hardens. You drove her to kill herself, I continue, then used her death to gain control of the company shares. Just like you tried to destroy Dad, and now me. Careful, Ella. Mother's hand slides into her pocket. Some accusations can't be taken back. I already sent copies to the police, and the SEC, and Karen's family. You're bluffing. Am I? You taught me well, Mother, about patience, about keeping evidence, about playing the long game. She pulls out her phone. One call and your father loses everything. His job, his apartment, what's left of his reputation. Already taken care of, Megan interjects. I transferred enough proof to his lawyer to protect him. It's done, Mom. Mother turns on her, fury crackling through her composed facade. After everything I've done for you, the opportunities, the connections, your future. My future? Megan stands. You mean like Karen's future, or Ella's, or anyone else who got in your way? Alan, Mother snaps, call security. But Alan backs away, his carefully constructed world crumbling. The SEC? Karen's family? His voice cracks. What have you done, Laura? What I had to do, for us, for our family. There is no us, I say quietly. There never was, just your next move, your next victim, your next scheme. Police lights flash at the front gate. Mother's mask finally shatters. You ungrateful little... She lunges for the laptop. I sidestep, letting her momentum carry her forward. She stumbles, catching herself against the stone bench. For a moment, our eyes meet, and I see something I've never seen before in her gaze. Fear. I learned from the best, I tell her. About sacrifice, about loyalty, about consequences. The police are in the garden now, reading rights, securing evidence. Alan goes quietly, already negotiating, but Mother stands frozen, watching her carefully constructed world collapse. "You'll regret this," she hisses as they lead her away. "Both of you, you're nothing without me. Nothing." Megan's hand finds mine in the chaos. "I'm sorry," she whispers, "for everything, for helping her spy on you, for not speaking up sooner." "You did now. That's what matters." As the police lights fade, we sit on the garden bench, surrounded by the ruins of Mother's empire. Dawn breaks over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of possibility. "What happens now?" Megan asks. I think of Dad, finally free from Mother's threats, of Ryan, waiting at home, of the truth, long buried but finally unearthed. "Now we build something new," I tell her, "something real." Because in the end, Mother's greatest lesson wasn't about revenge or manipulation, it was about choice. And tonight, we chose truth over power, justice over vengeance, and each other over everything else. That's a lesson she never understood. The courthouse steps feel colder than they should in spring. Mother stands at the top, designer suit exchanged for prison orange, as the guards lead her toward the transport van. Her eyes find mine in the crowd. For a moment, I see past the mask, past the carefully constructed facade of control and superiority. I see something raw, something almost human. Then it's gone, replaced by that familiar steel. Even in defeat, she refuses to break. "She took a plea deal," Marcus says beside me. 15 years, plus restitution to Karen Harrison's family and your father. And Alan. 5 years, reduced sentence for cooperation. The SEC is still unraveling the financial web. Dad approaches, looking lighter than I've seen him in years. The weight of Mother's manipulation finally lifted from his shoulders. "Ready to go?" "Almost." I turn to Megan, who's been quiet all morning. "You sure about this?" She nods, clutching the envelope containing her withdrawn acceptance to Cambridge. "I need to find my own path, not Mother's version of it." The four of us, Dad, Ryan, Megan, and I, walk away from the courthouse together. Not the family Mother tried to erase, but something new, something real. At home, I find the torn photograph on my desk. Mother's half smiles up at me, still trying to control the narrative even from prison. I take Dad's half from my drawer, carefully aligning the torn edges. The doorbell rings. A courier holds out a package. One last delivery from Mother's lawyers. Inside, I find a single sheet of paper in her elegant handwriting. "You think you've won, perhaps you have. But remember who taught you to play the game. Remember whose daughter you really are. Someday you'll understand why I did everything I did. Someday you'll thank me." Ryan finds me in the kitchen, the letter crumpled in my fist. "You okay?" She still thinks this was all about winning. I smooth out the paper, about power and control and making people bend to your will. Wasn't it? About revenge? I thought so at first. I look at the restored photograph, not just the image, but the truth it represents. But it was about something else, something she never understood. The sound of laughter drifts in from the living room, where Dad and Megan are assembling furniture for her new apartment. Simple, honest work. Real connections. I take Mother's letter to the sink and strike a match. The paper curls and blackens, her final attempt at manipulation turning to ash. "You know what the hardest part is?" I tell Ryan as we watch it burn. "Part of me still loves her. Part of me always will. But I finally understand. Love shouldn't require sacrifice. It shouldn't demand destruction. So what now?" Before I can answer, my phone buzzes. A news alert. Alan's company stocks are plummeting as more revelations emerge. The empire Mother built on lies and manipulation is crumbling. But that's not my concern anymore. I head to the living room, where Dad is teaching Megan how to sand wood properly, just like he taught me years ago. Their laughter mingles with the scent of sawdust and possibility. "Need another set of hands?" I ask. Dad looks up, his smile reaching his eyes. Always room for one more. As we work, I think about Mother's words. Remember whose daughter you really are. She meant it as a reminder of her influence, her lessons in power and control. But watching Dad show Megan the same patience and care he showed me, I realize I am my father's daughter. And that's the victory Mother never saw coming. Not revenge or destruction or power games won, but this, the simple act of building something true, something that can't be torn apart or erased or manipulated, something that will last. I take the restored photograph and pin it to the wall, not as a reminder of what was lost, but as proof of what can be rebuilt, whole, unbroken, real. Mother taught me how to tear things down. Dad taught me how to build them back up. In the end, that made all the difference.
I sat motionless at my parents' mahogany dining table, watching my mother's perfectly manicured nails drum against the polished surface. The sound echoed through the room like a countdown to detonation. My brother Nash slouched in his chair, refusing to meet anyone's eyes, while my father paced behind him. I'm Samantha, and this was the moment I'd been waiting for. Another start-up failure, my mother Francesca spat, shoving a stack of papers across the table. 400,000 in debt. Your brother needs you to step up. Again. I picked up the documents, pretending to study them carefully. The numbers were staggering, not because of their size, but because of their predictability. Third failed tech venture in 5 years. Same pattern, different zeros. The trust fund, my father Daniel finally spoke, his voice carrying that familiar note of assumed authority. Your half needs to cover this. It's what family does. I kept my face carefully blank, the way I'd learned to do since childhood. My half? Nash finally looked up, flashing that boyish smile that had gotten him out of trouble since we were kids. Come on, Sammy. You know I'm onto something big this time. The app just needs more runway. More runway, I repeated softly. Like the last 3 times? My mother's hand slammed against the table. Don't you dare take that tone. Your brother is building something important. You're just... She paused, lips curling into a sneer. You're just the spare child, meant to fund his future. The words should have hurt. They would have 6 months ago, but now they just confirmed what I'd always known, what had driven me to act. Remember when I broke my arm in 8th grade? I asked, surprising them with the apparent non sequitur. Nash had his baseball tournament that weekend. Instead of taking me to the doctor, you made me sit in the bleachers for 6 hours, holding my arm, because Nash needed his support system. That's ancient history, my father waved dismissively. We're talking about now, about family loyalty. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. You're right, we are talking about loyalty. Nash leaned forward. So, you'll do it? Transfer the money today? I turned the phone around, showing them the trust account balance. 0. The silence was deafening. What? My mother's voice shook. What did you do? Nothing you didn't teach me to do, I replied calmly. I took care of my future, just like you always said Nash should. My father's face reddened. That money was meant to be shared, for both of you. Funny thing about Grandma Eva's trust, I continued, standing up slowly. There was a clause. If either beneficiary could prove independent legal standing and financial responsibility, they could petition for sole control. I filed the paperwork 6 months ago. It was approved 3 months ago. Nash jumped to his feet. You can't do that. I need that money. Get a job, I said, picking up my purse, like I did, while funding your dreams with my half of every inheritance, bonus, and gift we ever received. My mother's voice turned sickeningly sweet. Darling, you're not thinking clearly. We can discuss this as a family. We are discussing it as a family, I cut her off. I'm just not playing my assigned role anymore. You ungrateful little... My father started, but I was already walking toward the door. The money's gone, I called over my shoulder. Legally, permanently, invested in something that will actually generate returns. You taught me well about financial planning. When you were teaching Nash, of course. I just happened to be in the room. My mother's scream of rage followed me out to my car. I sat there for a moment, hands steady on the steering wheel, and allowed myself a small smile. The tsunami of calls and texts would start soon. The flying monkeys would be deployed. The family reputation management machine would kick into high gear. But for the first time in my life, I held all the cards. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Robin. "Did you do it? Did you tell them?" I typed back quickly. "It's done. No going back now." Another buzz. My mother. "What did you do?" I started the engine, thinking about the years of being the family ATM, the emotional punching bag, the invisible support beam holding up the shrine to Nash's potential. They never saw me as more than a spare part in their perfect family machine. They were about to learn exactly how essential this spare part had been. As I pulled away from the house, my phone kept lighting up with increasingly frantic messages. I turned it off completely, enjoying the silence. The real storm hadn't even started yet, but for the first time in my life, I was ready for it. They wanted to talk about family loyalty. I'd show them exactly what I'd learned from their lessons. "You're telling me there's a loophole?" I'd asked Robin 3 months earlier, staring at the trust documents spread across her living room floor. "After all these years?" "Right here." Robin tapped the legal paper with her pen, her lawyer instincts in full force. "Your grandmother was clever. This clause isn't just boilerplate, it's specifically crafted. If either beneficiary can demonstrate financial independence and responsible management for 6 consecutive months," I leaned closer, reading the fine print. "They can petition for full control of the remaining trust assets." "Exactly." Robin sat back, watching me carefully. "Sam, this is your chance. You've been supporting yourself for years. Your investment portfolio is solid. You could qualify right now." I remembered pacing her apartment that night, my mind racing. "They'll fight it. Let them." Robin stood up, grabbing her laptop. "I've already talked to Quentin. You remember him, your grandmother's trustee? He's willing to review the petition." The memory shifted to Quentin's office 2 weeks later. He was exactly as I remembered. Silver-haired, methodical, with eyes that missed nothing. "Your grandmother was very specific about this clause," he said, reviewing my documentation. "She insisted it remain, even when your mother tried to have it removed." That made me look up sharply. "My mother knew about this?" "She did." Quentin's expression remained neutral. "She argued quite forcefully against it. Said it would destabilize the family dynamic." I laughed bitterly. "You mean it would destabilize her control?" "The petition is solid," Quentin continued, stamping several pages. "Once filed, there's a 3-month review period. During that time, maintain absolute silence about this. Any hint to your family could compromise the process." Back in the present, my phone buzzed again. Another voicemail from my mother. "Answer your phone this instant. Do you have any idea what you've done to this family?" I clicked play on the next one. "The trust manager must have made a mistake. Fix this now, Samantha. Your brother needs that money." And the next. "If you don't call me back in 5 minutes, you are no longer my daughter. Do you understand me? 5 minutes." I deleted them all and dialed Robin instead. "They know," I said when she answered. "How bad?" "Nuclear. My mother's already playing the disownment card." "Right on schedule," Robin replied. "Are you okay?" Before I could answer, my phone beeped with an incoming call. Quentin. "Hold on," I told Robin, switching lines. "Hello?" "Samantha." Quentin's voice was calm as ever. "Your parents just left my office. They're demanding the trust transfer be reversed." And I informed them that everything was done legally and properly. "The assets are now solely under your control." He paused. "Your mother didn't take it well." I could imagine. "Thank you, Quentin, for everything." "There's something else you should know," he added. "Something your grandmother told me to share. but only after the transfer was complete. My heart skipped. What is it? She knew this would happen, not the specifics, but the pattern. She told me, Samantha will need this escape hatch someday. Make sure she finds it when she's ready. Tears pricked at my eyes. Grandma Eva had seen it all. The golden child worship, the financial manipulation, the slow erosion of my independence. She'd built me a lifeboat before I even knew I was drowning. My doorbell rang, startling me. Through the peephole, I saw Nash swaying slightly, clearly drunk. "Samantha," he shouted, pounding on the door. "Open up! We need to talk about this." I switched back to Robin's line. "Nash is here, drunk." "Don't open the door," she said immediately. "Document everything, record if he makes threats." "Samantha!" Another pound. "You can't do this to me. That money was supposed to be mine." I started recording on my phone as his tirade continued. "You're ruining everything. My investors were counting on that backup funding. Do you know what this will do to my reputation?" "Your reputation," I called through the door. "What about the reputation I built while bankrolling your failures?" "That's what family does," he shouted back. "We support each other." "No, Nash, that's what I did, while you took and took and took." His voice turned ugly. "You think you're so smart? Mum's right. You're just the backup plan, the spare. You were never supposed to matter." I smiled, even as tears rolled down my cheeks. "That's the thing about spare parts, Nash. Sometimes they're the only thing holding the whole machine together." I heard him slide down against my door, his voice breaking. "Please, Sammy, I need this. I can't fail again." "You already have," I whispered, but not loud enough for him to hear. "And this time I won't be there to catch you." I stayed silent until his footsteps finally retreated, then sank to the floor myself, still clutching my phone. Robin's voice came through softly. "You did it, Sam. You're free." But freedom, I was learning, came with its own kind of pain. The next morning I found my father waiting by my car outside my office building. He looked smaller somehow, his expensive suit wrinkled, his usual commanding presence deflated. "We need to talk," he said as I approached. "I'm late for a meeting." "No, you're not." He stepped closer. "I called your boss, told him it was a family emergency." My blood boiled. "You did what?" "Sit with me," he gestured to a nearby bench. "Please." I checked my phone. Sure enough, an email from my supervisor about taking the morning off. Even now, they were controlling my narrative. "Fine," I said, sitting as far from him as possible. "Talk." "Your mother is devastated," he began. "She hasn't slept. Nash's investors are threatening legal action. We need to make this right." "Make what right? The fact that I legally claimed what was mine?" He rubbed his temples. "You don't understand the pressure Nash is under, the expectations you put on him," I cut in, "while expecting me to fund them." "We gave you everything," his voice rose. "Private school, college. You gave Nash everything. I got student loans. I worked through college while he focused on his potential." I pulled out my phone, opening a spreadsheet. "Want to see my records? Every dollar I've given him since we turned 18. It's over $2 million. His face paled. "You kept track?" "Of course I did. I'm good with numbers, remember? Or did you forget that too, since it didn't fit your narrative about Nash being the business genius?" A group of my co-workers walked past, trying not to stare. My father lowered his voice. "What do you want? Name your price to release the funds." I laughed. "You still think this is a negotiation? The money is gone, Dad. Invested, protected, legal." "Gone where?" His eyes narrowed. "What did you do with it?" "Something smart. Something that will actually generate returns instead of funding another doomed startup." He grabbed my arm. "You tell me right now." "Let go," I said quietly, "or I'll scream. Right here, in front of my office, in front of all these witnesses. How would that look for the family reputation?" He released me like I'd burned him. "You sound just like your mother," he spat. No, I stood up. I sound like someone who finally learned to fight back. Get a job, Dad, a real one. Stop living off your children. As I walked away, he called after me. He's your brother, your own blood. I turned back one last time. Blood doesn't excuse bleeding me dry. Inside my office, I found 3 emails from my mother, each more hysterical than the last. The final one was a single line. Quentin told us about your grandmother's clause. How dare you? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was my cousin Felicity, who I hadn't heard from in years. Heard what you did. About time someone stood up to them. Call me. I was about to respond when my office phone rang. The receptionist's voice was apologetic. Ms. Grant, your brother is here. Tell him I'm in a meeting. He's already walking to your office. Nash burst in seconds later, looking worse than yesterday. His designer clothes were rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. You have to fix this, he demanded. My investors are pulling out. Everything I've built. You mean everything I paid for? He slumped into the chair across from my desk. I would have paid you back once the app took off. Like the last 3 apps, the crypto venture, the NFT marketplace. I'm closed this time. He leaned forward. Just need 3 months of runway. I'll sign a contract. Your contracts mean nothing, I said, pulling out a folder. Here's every IOU you've signed since we were 20, all worthless. He stared at the stack of papers, then laughed hollowly. You really did keep receipts. Someone had to. You know what's funny? He ran a hand through his dishevelled hair. You were always the smart one, the one who actually understood business. But they invested everything in me. Not funny, I corrected. Tragic. Help me one last time, he pleaded, for old time's sake. I looked at my brother, really looked at him, the golden child, the chosen one, now reduced to begging in my office. No, I said softly, get help, Nash. Real help. Learn to stand on your own. He stood up slowly, straightening his jacket with shaking hands. Mum was wrong, you know. About what? You weren't the spare, he said, walking to the door. You were the backbone, and now we're all going to fall. After he left, I sat there for a long time staring at the folder of IOUs. My phone buzzed again, another text from Felicity. There's something you need to know about Grandma Eva, something Mom told me before she died. Can we meet? I stared at the message, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet once again. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I met Felicity at a quiet cafe across town, far from any of my family's usual haunts. She looked different from the last time I'd seen her, more confident, with an easy smile that spoke of freedom. You look good, I said as she sat down. Living abroad does that, away from all... She gestured vaguely. This. What did you want to tell me about Grandma Eva? Felicity glanced around before pulling out an envelope. Mom told me this before she passed. Aunt Francesca, your mother, she wasn't supposed to be the executor of Grandma's estate. I felt my coffee go cold in my hands. What? It was supposed to be you. Grandma specifically requested it, but Aunt Francesca overruled it somehow, got herself appointed instead. That's not possible, I said. The court would have... Look. She pushed the envelope across the table. Inside were copies of the original will documents with clear annotations naming me as executor. Mom kept these. She felt guilty about staying quiet. My hands shook as I read. This changes everything. There's more. Felicity leaned forward. Check your credit report, now. I pulled out my phone, logging into my credit monitoring app. What I saw made my stomach drop. 3 credit cards I never opened, I whispered. 2 personal loans, all maxed out. They did the same to me, Felicity said. Used my identity for years. That's why I left the country. But you, she pointed to the dates, these are recent, since you took control of the trust. My mind flashed back to childhood memories, my mother making me sign papers I didn't understand, saying it was practice for being a businesswoman. I need to call Robin, I said, already dialing. Already on it. Robin answered immediately. "I've been monitoring your credit since this started. They've opened 5 new accounts in the last week alone." "Is it enough for criminal charges? Identity theft, fraud, financial abuse? Yes, but Sam, are you ready for that level of escalation?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Having a small gathering tonight. Your attendance is required. Family reputation at stake." Then another. "Don't make me tell everyone about your mental health issues." "They're trying to paint me as unstable," I told Robin and Felicity. "Classic move." "Fight back," Felicity urged. "I didn't, and I regret it every day." My phone kept buzzing. Flying monkeys deployed by my mother, distant relatives and family friends, all texting their concern about my emotional state. "Aunt Margaret says you're having a breakdown," one cousin wrote. "Your mother is worried sick about your erratic behaviour," typed a family friend. Robin was already in lawyer mode. "I'm calling in favours. We'll have police reports filed by morning. Financial Crimes Unit loves cases with this much documentation." "Do it," I said, my voice steady. "All of it." Felicity squeezed my hand. "There's one more thing. The estate in Switzerland, the one everyone thinks Aunt Francesca inherited. Check the property records." I looked up sharply. "Why?" "Because Grandma Eva was playing a very long game," she smiled, "and I don't think anyone knows the whole board yet." That evening I sat in my apartment with Robin, going through years of financial records. Each discovery was worse than the last. "They used your identity to secure loans for Nash's startups," Robin said, highlighting documents. "Multiple times. That's federal fraud. Look at this." I pointed to a series of transfers. "Every time I got a bonus at work, money moved from my account to Nash's within hours. How did they even know?" "They had access to your accounts," Robin realised. "Probably since you were a teenager. They never let go of the control." My phone lit up with another message from my mother. "Last chance. Attend tonight or face the consequences." "Go," Robin said suddenly. "What?" "Go to their gathering. Record everything. Let them dig their hole deeper." I stared at the mounting evidence of decades of financial abuse. "They'll try to ambush me." "Exactly," Robin smiled grimly. "And this time, you'll be ready." I thought about the young girl I used to be, signing papers without question, believing it was normal for family to take and take and take. "Time to end this," I said, standing up. "Be careful," Felicity warned. "Aunt Francesca plays dirty when cornered." "So do I," I replied, picking up my keys. "She made sure of that." As I drove to my parents' house, my phone buzzed one more time, a message from an unknown number. "This is Quentin. Don't delete any financial records. The FBI fraud division will need them all." I smiled, thinking of my mother's perfectly curated society gathering, about to implode. They wanted to talk about family reputation. Let's talk. The small gathering turned out to be a full-scale society event, my mother's specialty. 40 of our family's closest friends and relatives milled around the garden, all carefully selected for maximum impact. I recognised her strategy immediately, witnesses for whatever show she had planned. "Samantha, darling," my mother's voice carried across the lawn, artificially bright. "We were so worried you wouldn't come." Every head turned. The whispers started immediately. "Poor Francesca, dealing with such a troubled daughter. I heard she's having some kind of breakdown. Taking money from her own brother." I kept my phone recording in my pocket as I approached my mother. Her smile was razor sharp. "Everyone's been so concerned," she said loudly. "After your recent episodes?" "Episodes?" I matched her volume. "You mean discovering the credit cards you opened in my name?" Her smile flickered. Aunt Margaret swooped in, touching my arm with theatrical concern. "Sweetie, we all know you've been under stress," she cooed, "making up these awful stories." I pulled out my phone, opening my credit report. "You mean these stories? Would you like to see the fraud alerts?" "Put that away," my mother hissed. "Why?" I turned to the gathering crowd. Afraid they'll see how you and Dad committed identity theft? Used my social security number for Nash's failed ventures? You're hysterical, my father cut in, appearing beside my mother. This is exactly what we're worried about. Is she having another episode? Someone whispered loudly. I laughed, the sound cutting through the manufactured concern. Let's talk about episodes, like the time you made me sign loan documents when I was 16. That's illegal, by the way. Enough! My mother grabbed my arm, manicured nails digging in. Nash emerged from the crowd, swaying slightly. Sammy, stop this. You're embarrassing everyone. No, I pulled free. I'm exposing everyone. There's a difference. Security Fraud Division, Robin's voice rang out as she walked through the garden gate. That's who's investigating the identity theft. Just thought everyone should know what's coming. My mother's face went white. This is a private event. You need to leave. Actually, Robin smiled. I'm here officially as Samantha's legal counsel, and I have some documents to share with the group. She pulled out copies of the credit reports, the fraudulent loans, the original will naming me executor, started passing them around. These are lies, my father sputtered, but his voice shook. The whispers changed tone. Those are real bank documents. Look at these dates. Multiple credit cards in her name. You want to talk about mental health? I addressed the crowd. Let's discuss the psychological impact of financial abuse, of being used as a human ATM, of having your identity stolen by your own parents. Stop this, my mother pleaded, her public mask cracking. Think about the family name. I am, I replied. I'm thinking about how you destroyed it yourselves. Nash lunged forward suddenly, grabbing my arm. You think you're so perfect, so much better than me. No, I said calmly, aware of every phone now recording us. I think I'm done being your backup plan. My father stepped between us, face red with exertion. You ungrateful... He stopped mid-sentence, clutching his chest. Daniel! My mother's voice turned shrill. He stumbled, gasping. The crowd erupted in chaos as he collapsed. Call an ambulance, someone shouted. As people rushed around us, I stood still, watching the carefully orchestrated evening dissolve into panic. My mother knelt beside my father, all pretense forgotten, mascara running down her cheeks. Nash backed away, mumbling, This is your fault, all your fault. The ambulance arrived within minutes. As paramedics loaded my father onto a stretcher, my mother turned to me, her face twisted with fury and fear. Are you happy now? She spat. Is this what you wanted? No, I said quietly. This isn't what I wanted. This is what you created. Robin appeared at my side as my parents disappeared into the ambulance. You okay? No, I admitted, but I will be. The remaining guests scattered quickly, clutching their copies of the evidence, phones buzzing with messages spreading the news. By morning, everyone would know. Your father will be fine, Robin assured me. Probably just stress and high blood pressure. I know. I watched the ambulance drive away. But nothing else will be. My phone buzzed. Felicity. Saw what happened. Don't back down now. Check your email. I sent you Grandma Eva's Swiss property records. You're going to want to see this. I looked around the abandoned garden party at the scattered evidence of decades of manipulation and lies. Somewhere in the distance, I heard my mother's carefully constructed reputation crumbling. And for the first time, the sound didn't hurt at all. The hospital corridor smelled of disinfectant and stale coffee. I sat outside my father's room, waiting for my mother to finish her tearful performance for the nurses. Nash slouched in a chair opposite me, his designer clothes wrinkled from sleeping in the waiting room. He's stable, Nash said, breaking our hour-long silence. Just a panic attack, they said. Not a real heart attack. Good. Is that all you can say? He leaned forward. After what you did? What I did? I met his eyes. You mean expose the truth? You could have handled it privately. Like you all handled stealing my identity privately. He flinched. I didn't know about that part. Not at first. When did you find out? Nash looked away. 3 years ago, when the crypto startup failed. Mum said they'd used your credit to secure some loans. I should have said something, but you didn't. I couldn't fail again. His voice cracked. Do you know what that's like, being the one they bet everything on? No, I said quietly. I was too busy being the one they took everything from. My mother emerged from the room, makeup perfectly refreshed despite her distress. The nurses need to check his vitals, she announced. Nash, go get some coffee. Samantha, a word. Nash shuffled away, leaving me alone with her. The police called this morning, she said, her voice low and dangerous. Financial Crimes Division. Are you happy now? Were you happy all those years forging my signature? We did what was necessary for this family. No, I corrected. You did what was necessary for Nash. I was just collateral damage. She sat beside me, smoothing her skirt. You were always so capable, so reliable. We knew you could handle it. Handle being defrauded? Handle supporting your brother's dreams, she snapped. You had no ambition of your own, no vision. You were just... The spare, I finished. I remember. A nurse walked past, and my mother's voice dropped to a whisper. We can fix this, make the charges go away, return to how things were. They're federal charges, Mom. This isn't a society scandal you can smooth over with a party. Then why, she demanded, why destroy everything? I pulled out my phone, showing her the credit report. You destroyed it. Every time you forged my name. Every time you drained my accounts for Nash. Every time you chose him over basic human decency. He's special, she insisted. He just needs more time. He's 32, I cut in. How much more time does he need? You don't understand. No, you don't understand. It's over. The money's gone. The fraud is exposed. Nash needs to grow up, and you and Dad need to face consequences. She stood up, straightening her designer jacket. We'll see about that. Your father and I still have friends in high places. Not anymore, I said, opening my email. These records are already with the FBI and the IRS and the media. Her face went pale. You wouldn't dare. I already did. Check tomorrow's financial papers. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Quentin. Package arrived. Everything you sent is now with federal investigators. My mother's hands shook as she read the message over my shoulder. You've ruined us. No, I stood up. I freed us, all of us, even Nash. I'll never forgive you for this. I know, I smiled sadly. But I finally forgive myself. Nash returned with coffee, looking between us warily. Everything okay? Tell him, I said to my mother. Tell him about the fraud, the identity theft, the illegal loans. Tell him what his dreams really cost. She turned away, silent. Mom, Nash's voice was small like a child's. What is she talking about? I handed him the credit report, watched his face crumble as he read. All those times you said the money was from family investments, he whispered. It was, my mother said sharply. Samantha is family. It was theft, he corrected, looking sick. All of it. My whole career is built on stolen money. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Your father's asking for you, Mrs. Grant. My mother straightened her spine, mask back in place. We'll discuss this later, as a family. No, I said, gathering my things. We won't. I left them there, my mother retreating into denial, Nash finally facing reality. As I walked out of the hospital, my phone buzzed one last time, an email from Quentin. Your grandmother left something else for you. A sealed envelope to be opened only after everything else was revealed. Come see me tomorrow. I stepped into the sunlight, feeling lighter than I had in years. Whatever was in that envelope, I was finally ready to face it. The spare child had become the last one standing. Quentin's office looked exactly the same as it had months ago when I'd first discovered the trust loophole. But this time I wasn't nervous. I was ready. "Your grandmother was quite specific about the timing of this," he said, pulling out a thick envelope. "She said, 'Give this to Samantha when she finally stands up for herself.'" My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. Inside were several documents, a letter, and a key. "Dear Samantha," I read aloud. "If you're reading this, you've finally done what I never could, broken free from Francesca's web of control." Quentin sat quietly as I continued reading. "I watched her do to you what she did to me, use money as a weapon, manipulate through guilt, always demanding more. I tried to protect you with the trust, but I knew that wouldn't be enough. So I left you something else. Something Francesca doesn't know exists." I pulled out the property deed. "The estate in Switzerland. Your mother thinks she inherited it," Quentin explained. "She never checked the actual records." "Because Grandma Eva transferred it to me 5 years ago," I whispered, reading the documentation, "before she died." "There's more." Quentin pointed to another document. It was a bank statement. 7 figures, in a private Swiss account. "She built this for you," Quentin said softly. "Every time Francesca demanded money from her, Eva matched the amount and put it aside. For you." I kept reading the letter. "My darling girl, I saw your strength long before you did. How you protected Nash even while they drained you dry. How you built yourself up despite them tearing you down. This money isn't charity. It's what you should have had all along. Use it to build something for yourself, not for them." My phone buzzed. A news alert. The story had broken. "Prominent family under federal investigation for financial fraud." "Perfect timing," Quentin noted. "Your grandmother would have appreciated that." Another document caught my eye. A business plan, written in Eva's elegant hand. "A scholarship foundation," I realized, "for young women trapped by financial abuse." "She left the framework," Quentin confirmed. "But the execution is up to you." My phone kept buzzing. Messages from Nash, my mother, my father. I turned it off. "There's one more thing," Quentin said, pulling out a final envelope. "This arrived from Felicity this morning." Inside were photos, dozens of them. Eva with a young me, at moments I'd forgotten. Science fairs my parents had skipped. Dance recitals they'd missed for Nash's games. My grandmother had been there for all of them. "She knew," I said, tears falling. "She saw everything. And she planned accordingly," Quentin smiled. "The estate is fully staffed, by the way, ready whenever you want to visit." A knock at the door interrupted us. Robin burst in, grinning. "It's everywhere," she announced. "Every major news outlet. The FBI just froze all their accounts." "How bad?" I asked. "Your mother's social circles are imploding. Your father's business partners are distancing themselves. Nash's investors are suing." I looked at the scholarship foundation plans. "Good. Time for something new to rise from the ashes." "About that," Robin pulled out her laptop. "I've been working on the legal framework for the foundation. We can have it operational within months." My phone buzzed again, this time a text from Felicity. "Saw the news. Karma's finally here. When are you coming to Switzerland?" "Your grandmother had one last request," Quentin said, pointing to the end of her letter. I read the final lines. "Don't let them make you bitter, my darling. Use this to help others break free. That's the best revenge, turning pain into purpose." Robin squeezed my shoulder. "Ready to build something real?" I looked at the estate photos, the foundation plans, the evidence of my grandmother's years of quiet rebellion and preparation. "The Eva Grant Foundation for Financial Independence," I said. "Helping women escape financial abuse and build their own legacies." "Perfect," Robin grinned. "Want to know the best part? It'll be announced the same day your parents appear in court." My phone lit up one last time, a message from Nash. "I understand now what they did, what I let happen. I'm sorry." I picked up the key to the Swiss estate, feeling its weight in my hand. Time to go see my new home." "Your grandmother would be proud," Quentin said quietly. "No," I corrected him, gathering the documents. "She knew this would happen. She just waited for me to be ready." As I walked out of Quentin's office, I felt lighter than ever. The spare child had become something else entirely. An heir to a different kind of legacy, one built on freedom, not control, and I knew exactly what to do with it. The Swiss estate's windows caught the morning light, making the entire mansion glow. I stood in Eva's old study, my study now, reviewing applications for the Foundation's first round of scholarships. "This one," Felicity said, holding up a file. "She reminds me of you. Parents using her credit cards, forcing her to support a deadbeat brother." "Add her to the shortlist," I nodded, just as my phone buzzed with a news alert. "Prominent couple pleads guilty in financial fraud case," the headline read. "Daniel and Francesca to face sentencing next week." Robin's call came seconds later. They took the plea deal, 3 years plus full restitution. And Nash? Bankruptcy proceedings started yesterday. He's actually getting help. Real help, not just throwing money at his problems. I walked to the window, watching the Swiss Alps in the distance. "Did you see the interview requests?" 17 magazines, 3 major newspapers, and 2 documentary filmmakers, Robin confirmed. "They're calling it the Trust Fund Revolution, how one woman's stand against financial abuse inspired a movement." "Send them all to the Foundation's PR team," I said. "Let's use the attention for something good." A knock at the door interrupted us. Mia Henderson, my grandmother's old friend, entered with a tablet. "You need to see this," she said, pulling up a video. It was Nash, speaking at a financial literacy workshop. "I was the golden child," he told the audience, "the chosen one, and it destroyed not just me, but my sister. Don't let family loyalty become financial abuse." "He's actually doing it," I whispered, "teaching others from his mistakes." "People can surprise you," Mia smiled. "Eva always said that." My phone buzzed again, a message from my mother, her first since the guilty plea. "The Foundation. It's what she would have wanted. I see that now." I deleted it without responding. Some bridges weren't meant to be rebuilt. "First round of scholarship recipients goes public tomorrow," Felicity reminded me. 20 women, full funding for education or business ventures. Plus mentorship, legal support, and financial counselling, Robin added through the speaker. "Everything you didn't have." I picked up a framed photo from the desk. Eva and me at my college graduation, the only family member who showed up. She'd known even then what I'd become. "Ms. Grant," my assistant poked her head in, "the documentary crew is here for the Foundation launch, and there's someone else." Nash stepped into the doorway, looking different, humbler, cleaner, clear-eyed. "Hey, Sammy," he said quietly. "I'm not staying. Just wanted you to have this." He handed me an envelope containing a check. Small, but clearly all he could afford. "First restitution payment," he explained. "Voluntary, not court-ordered. It's not much, but—" "Give it to the Foundation," I said. "Help someone else's spare child." He nodded, understanding. "You were never spare, you know. You were the strongest one of us all." After he left, I turned back to the scholarship applications. 20 women about to break free, with hundreds more applying every day. "Eva would love this," Mia said, arranging papers on the desk. "The spare child building an empire of liberation." My phone lit up with another message, from Quentin this time. "Your grandmother left one last thing. A video message to be played only when you're ready." "Are you ready?" I looked around the study, at the scholarship files, the foundation plans, the growing movement we'd built from the ashes of financial abuse. "Yes," I texted back. "I'm ready." Moments later, Eva's face filled my screen. "My darling girl, if you're watching this, you've done it. You've broken the cycle, built something new. Remember this, you were never spare. You were always the key, the one strong enough to set everyone free, including yourself. I'm so proud of the woman you've become." Felicity squeezed my hand as the video ended. She knew, all along. She did, I agreed, standing up. Now, let's go change some lives. The documentary crew waited in the grand hall, cameras ready to capture the Foundation's launch. But they weren't just filming a story about revenge or justice. They were filming the beginning of a revolution, one that started with a spare child who refused to be spare anymore. "Ready?" Robin asked through the phone. I thought about all the women waiting for their chance to break free, all the lives about to change. "Ready?" I smiled. "Let's show them what the spare ones can do." Because sometimes the spare part isn't extra at all. Sometimes it's the piece that builds something entirely new. And I was just getting started. I stared at my father across the Thanksgiving table as he slurred the words that would finally break me. I'm in trouble with some very serious people. The silence that followed felt like a noose tightening around my neck, especially when my mother's eyes locked onto mine with that familiar expectant look. "My name is Amelia, and I'm the idiot who secretly bought my family a house. They don't know that, of course. They think some mysterious landlord lets them live there practically rent-free out of the goodness of their heart. Meanwhile, I live in what they lovingly call the shoebox with plumbing, my modest studio apartment that they'd just spent the better part of dinner mocking. It's like living in a closet," my sister Lindsay had giggled earlier, wine glass in hand. "I don't know how you do it, Amelia. Don't you want, actual rooms?" I'd smiled tightly and cut another piece of turkey. "Some of us prefer living within our means." "Within your means?" My father, Geoffrey, had scoffed already 3 glasses deep. "You make decent money in that marketing job. You could afford better than this shoebox," my mother Sandra had finished for him, patting his hand. "We just worry about you, sweetheart. Living like this isn't healthy." The irony of their concern was almost funny. Almost. They had no idea that every month I paid the property tax on their 4-bedroom house, that last summer's roof repair came from my savings, that the mysterious landlord who never raised their rent was actually their eldest daughter, living in a studio apartment so they could maintain their comfortable lifestyle. But now, watching my father's hands shake as he admitted to his latest gambling disaster, I felt something inside me crack. "How much?" I asked flatly. 18,000, he mumbled, not meeting my eyes. My mother jumped in smoothly. "We've been thinking about this as a family. Lindsay's still paying off her student loans. And your father and I are..." She gestured vaguely. "Well, you know our situation." "And I don't have kids or a mortgage, right?" I finished for her, the familiar script playing out. "So naturally I should be the one to fix this." "Your car," Lindsay suggested brightly, as if she'd just solved everyone's problems. "That hybrid thing you drive must be worth at least 20 grand. You could sell it and take the bus to work." I looked around the table, at my father's guilty but expectant face, my mother's manipulative concern, my sister's casual entitlement, and suddenly saw the last 15 years with perfect clarity. The inheritance from my grandmother that I'd used to buy this house, thinking it would finally make them proud. The countless times I'd covered their emergencies while they criticised my lifestyle. The way they'd trained me to be their safety net while treating me like their family failure. "No," I said quietly. "What was that?" my mother asked, her voice sharpening. "I said no." I stood up, gathering my purse. "I'm not selling my car to cover another gambling debt. I'm not doing this anymore." My father's face darkened. "After everything we've done for you." "Everything you've done for me?" I laughed, and the sound was ugly even to my own ears. "That's rich, Dad, really rich." "If you walk out that door," my mother warned, "don't expect to be welcome back." I paused at the threshold of my shoebox apartment and looked back at them. "Funny thing about doors, Mum, sometimes they close for good reasons." In my car, my precious debt-free car, I sat in the parking lot and let the tears come. Then I pulled out my phone and called the one person who'd been telling me for years to stand up to them. Parker, it's me. Remember how you said you'd help me if I ever wanted to explore my rights as a landlord? Wait, Parker's voice crackled through the speaker. You own the house they live in your name? I wiped my eyes and sat up straighter. Yeah, and I think it's time they learned what real estate karma feels like. As I hung up, my phone buzzed with a text from Lindsay. Hope you're not serious about abandoning the family in our time of need. Dad's really upset. I turned off my phone and started the car. For the first time in 15 years, I felt something other than obligation when I thought about my family. I felt rage, and maybe, just maybe, that rage would finally set me free. 3 days after Thanksgiving, my mother and sister ambushed me at my favourite coffee shop. I spotted them through the window and considered running, but they'd already seen me. Besides, I was tired of running. We need to talk about Dad's situation, Lindsay announced, sliding into the seat across from me without waiting for an invitation. My mother settled beside her, arranging her face into that concerned expression I knew too well. There's nothing to talk about, I said, closing my laptop. I'm not selling my car. Don't be selfish, Amelia, my mother leaned forward. These aren't nice people your father owes money to. They've already started calling the house. Then maybe he shouldn't have borrowed from them. Lindsay's eyes narrowed. Easy for you to say. You don't have any real responsibilities. No kids, no mortgage. Stop saying that. I slammed my hand on the table, making several nearby customers jump. Having children or a mortgage doesn't make your needs more important than mine. I work hard for what I have. And we don't. My mother's voice took on that wounded tone that used to guilt me into submission. Your father and I have sacrificed everything for this family. The least you could do is help in a crisis. I laughed bitterly. A crisis? This is Tuesday. Dad's always in crisis. Remember my college fund? The one he gambled away because we were having hard times? Funny how those hard times didn't stop you from taking that cruise the next summer. That was different, my mother waved dismissively. We needed that vacation. The stress was affecting your father's health. The stress was... I stopped myself, taking a deep breath. You know what? I'm done. I'm not your ATM anymore. Fine, Lindsay spat. Be that way, but don't come crying to us when you're old and alone in that pathetic little apartment. Something snapped inside me. At least my pathetic little apartment is mine, unlike that house you live in. What's that supposed to mean? My mother asked sharply. I stood up, gathering my things. It means I'm done pretending, done enabling, done watching you destroy yourselves and blame everyone else. We're your family, my mother called after me as I walked away. Family helps family. I spun around. Family doesn't mock family. Family doesn't guilt and manipulate and steal from family. And family definitely doesn't show up at someone's workplace to pressure them into selling their only reliable asset. The coffee shop had gone quiet. I didn't care. If you want to help Dad so badly, sell your own cars. Sell that boat he bought last summer when he was supposedly broke. Sell the house. I caught myself just in time. Oh, wait, you can't sell the house because you don't own it. I left them sitting there, faces flushed with anger and embarrassment. My hands were shaking as I got into my car, my precious hybrid that they wanted to sacrifice to the gambling gods. Parker's law office was only 10 minutes away. I didn't call ahead, I just showed up, probably looking like a mess. I need those landlord papers we talked about, I said when his secretary let me into his office. All of them. Parker looked up from his desk, concern evident on his face. Are you sure about this? Once you start the process. They showed up at my coffee shop today. I cut him off. Tried to guilt me into selling my car for Dad's gambling debts. Again, 18,000, right? He whistled low. That's a lot of money to throw away. It's not just about the money anymore. I sank into the chair across from him. It's about the constant demands, the emotional manipulation, the way they treat me like their personal bailout fund while mocking everything I do. And you're ready to tell them you own the house? I nodded slowly. More than ready. I'm tired of being their secret safety net. Let's see how they handle knowing the truth. Parker pulled out a thick folder. I'll need you to sign these. And, Amelia? He waited until I looked up. This won't be pretty. They're going to fight back hard. I know. I picked up the pen. But for once, I'm going to fight back harder. As I signed the papers that would start the eviction process, my phone buzzed with a text from Lindsay. It was a photo of a car dealership with the caption, "Hope you're seriously thinking about doing the right thing." I showed it to Parker. "The right thing," I said quietly, "is exactly what I'm doing." He nodded and started making copies of the signed documents. Sometimes the right thing feels wrong at first, but that doesn't make it any less right. I watched the papers slide through the copier, each one bringing me closer to freedom. Or maybe just a different kind of cage. Either way, there was no turning back now. The house looked different in the moonlight. Standing in the street at midnight, I remembered the day I'd bought it. How proud I'd been, how certain this grand gesture would finally make them see me as worthy. I'd been 25, flush with inheritance money from my grandmother, and desperate for approval. You could get a much nicer place in the suburbs, the realtor had said. But I'd known my family would never leave their neighbourhood, their friends, their familiar haunts. So I'd settled for this older 4-bedroom colonial, thinking they'd at least appreciate the gesture. They hadn't, of course. "It's kind of small," my mother had said when the mysterious landlord offered it to them, "and that wallpaper is hideous." Now, 5 years later, I used my key to let myself in. The house was silent. They were all at my aunt's place for the weekend. I needed to document the property's condition before serving the eviction notice. The moment I stepped inside, the smell hit me, cigarettes and mould. My father had promised to quit smoking indoors. Another lie. I turned on my phone's flashlight and started in the living room. The hardwood floors I'd had refinished were scratched and stained. Cigarette burns dotted the windowsills. In the kitchen, cabinet doors hung loose on their hinges, and the granite countertop had a long crack running through it. "Jesus," I whispered, taking photos. "What have they done to this place?" My phone buzzed. A text from Parker. "Don't forget to document everything, every scratch, every stain. We'll need it." I moved upstairs, each step creaking under my weight. The bathroom was worse than I'd imagined. Black mould crept along the shower walls, and the toilet seemed to be leaking. I'd sent money for repairs last year when my mother complained about plumbing issues. Clearly those funds had gone elsewhere. In my old bedroom, now Lindsay's makeup studio, empty wine bottles littered the floor. The closet door was punched through, probably from one of my father's rages. I remembered those rages from childhood, how he'd put his fist through walls instead of people and call it self-control. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Lindsay. "Hope you're seriously thinking about doing the right thing." I took a deep breath and typed back, "I am, just not the way you think." Back downstairs, I found myself in front of the dining room wall where we used to mark our heights as kids. The marks were still there, hidden behind a cheap painting. I traced my final measurement, 17 years old, the summer before Dad gambled away my college fund. "You'll understand when you're older," my mother had said then. "Family comes first." A car door slammed outside. Headlights swept across the windows. They were home early. I ducked into the kitchen just as the front door opened. My father's voice carried through the house. "I'm telling you, Sandra, we'll figure something out. Amelia will come around. She always does." "She seemed different this time," my mother replied. "More resistant." "Then we'll try harder," Lindsay chimed in. "Make her feel guilty. You know how she gets about family loyalty." I pressed myself against the wall, heart pounding. They moved into the living room, unaware of my presence. "Maybe we could sell some of her grandmother's jewellery," my mother suggested. "The pieces she left in her old room." My blood ran cold. Those pieces weren't left behind. They'd been stolen from my apartment during a wellness check. Last year when I hadn't answered my phone for 2 days. Good idea, my father said. She probably won't even notice they're gone, too busy working herself to death in that shoebox. I'd heard enough. Carefully, silently, I slipped out the back door. In my car, parked around the corner, I reviewed the photos I'd taken. Each one felt like another nail in the coffin of my family relationships. Parker answered on the first ring. How bad is it? Worse than we thought. They're home now, planning to sell my grandmother's jewellery to cover the debt. Jewellery they stole from me. That's theft, he said firmly. We can add it to the complaint. They were just talking about how to manipulate me, using family loyalty against me. Again. Are you having second thoughts? I looked at the house. My house, with its sagging gutters and cigarette-stained curtains. No more second thoughts. No more chances. Send the eviction notice. It goes out tomorrow morning, Parker said. Are you ready for their reaction? No, I admitted, but I'm even less ready for another decade of this. As if on cue, my phone lit up with another text from Lindsay. This time it was a photo of a car dealership's website with a trade-in value calculator prominently displayed. I turned off my phone, started my car, and drove away from the house I'd bought with such hope 5 years ago. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, they'd learn what it meant to take advantage of the wrong person for too long. Tomorrow, they'd learn about karma. The first call came at 8:47 a.m. I watched my mother's name flash across my phone screen as I sat in Parker's office, waiting for confirmation that the eviction notice had been delivered. They should have received it by now, Parker said, checking his computer. Certified mail, signature required. My phone buzzed again. Lindsay this time, then my father, then my mother again. You don't have to answer, Parker reminded me. The text started rolling in. Mum, call me immediately. Lindsay. WTF is this? Is this some kind of joke? Dad. You ungrateful little... Then came the voicemails. I put the first one on speaker. Amelia, this is your mother. There's been some kind of mistake. We just received legal papers saying you're our landlord, that you own the house. Call me back right now. The second voicemail was less composed. How dare you? My father's voice boomed. How dare you go behind our backs like this? After everything we've done for you, you think you can just throw your own family out on the street. Notice how they're not denying they owe you money, Parker observed, taking notes, or addressing the property damage. My phone lit up with a FaceTime request from Lindsay. Against my better judgment, I accepted. Are you out of your mind? Her face filled the screen, mascara already running. You've owned the house this whole time, while we've been worried sick about you living in that dump? That dump is what allowed me to pay for your roof repairs, I replied calmly, and your property taxes, and your utilities. We're your family, she shrieked. You don't evict family. Family doesn't steal jewellery, I shot back, or mock where I live while living rent-free in my house. That's different. We thought... You thought what? That some mysterious benefactor was just letting you live there out of kindness, that the repairs magically paid for themselves. Your sister's right, my mother's voice cut in as she grabbed the phone from Lindsay. This isn't how family treats family. What will people think? They'll think you raised a daughter smart enough to know when she's being used. My mother's face hardened. If you do this, there's no coming back. You'll never be welcome in this family again. Funny, I said, feeling strangely calm. That's exactly what you said at Thanksgiving and last Christmas. And every time I've said no to you for the past decade. You have until 5 o'clock to withdraw this notice, my father bellowed from somewhere off screen. Or I swear to God, I ended the call. Well, Parker said after a moment, that went about as expected. My phone kept buzzing with messages. I read them aloud. You'll regret this. Hope you can live with yourself. Nobody will ever love you after this. Wow, they're really hitting all the greatest hits. We should document these threats, Parker said, reaching for his legal pad, in case a loud bang interrupted him. Through his office window, I saw my father in the parking lot, getting out of his car. "Stay here," Parker said, standing up. "I'll handle this." But I was already moving toward the door. 5 years of secrets, a lifetime of manipulation. I was done hiding. My father's face was purple with rage as he stormed toward the building. "You think you can hide behind lawyers? Your own father." "Sir," Parker called out, "this is private property. I'll have to ask you to leave." "Stay out of this," my father roared. "This is between me and my ungrateful daughter." "No," I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. "This is between a landlord and her tenants, who haven't paid rent in 5 years, who've destroyed property, who've stolen personal items. We gave you life, and I gave you a house. I gave you everything I had, over and over, and it was never enough." Security was approaching now. My father jabbed a finger at me. "You think karma won't find you? You think you can do this to your own blood?" "Karma," I laughed. "Karma is exactly what's happening right now." As security escorted him away, he screamed through the parking lot. "You'll end up alone. You hear me? Alone." Back in Parker's office, I collapsed into a chair. My phone showed 37 missed calls and over 50 texts. "We should file for a restraining order," Parker said quietly. I nodded, numb. "Do it. Do whatever we need to do." "Are you okay?" I looked at my phone as another message from Lindsay popped up. "Hope you're happy destroying this family." "No," I said honestly, "but I will be." Outside, I could still hear my father's car peeling out of the parking lot. The sound felt like punctuation on the end of a very long sentence, one I'd been reading my whole life without understanding until now. The letter arrived 3 days after the eviction notice, hand-delivered to my apartment's mailbox. The return address was from Valentina, my family's next-door neighbour for the past 20 years. I'd always liked her, even though my mother called her nosy. "Dear Amelia," the letter began, "I've held this secret for 5 years, watching you sacrifice everything for people who never deserved it. I was there the day you signed the papers for the house. I saw your smile, your hope, and I've seen everything since." My hands trembled as I read on. "I have security cameras. They've captured years of incidents. Your father's rages, your mother's verbal abuse when you visit, your sister's endless parties that keep the neighbourhood awake. I've saved it all, thinking someday you might need proof." I called Parker immediately. An hour later, I sat in Valentina's immaculate living room, watching video clips on her tablet. The footage was clear, damning. There was my father punching the garage door after I'd refused to co-sign a loan last year. My mother standing in the driveway, screaming at me for missing a family dinner because of work. Lindsay sneaking my grandmother's jewellery box out of my apartment during that wellness check. "I should have shown you sooner," Valentina said, pouring tea. "But it wasn't my place." "Why now?" I asked. She set down her cup. "Because yesterday I heard your father planning something. He was on the phone talking about teaching you a lesson, about making you understand the consequences of your actions." My stomach churned. "Did he say what kind of consequences?" "No, but I've seen that look before. When he gambled away your college fund." The memory hit me like a slap. I'd been 17, heading to my dream school with a partial scholarship. Then suddenly the money was gone. "Hard times," my mother had said, patting my hand. "We'll figure something out." 2 months later, they'd gone on a cruise. To heal from the stress, they'd said. "I had to get student loans," I said quietly. "Work 2 jobs through college." They never apologised, never even admitted what happened. "I remember," Valentina nodded. "Just like I remember when you bought this house. You were so proud, thinking it would finally make them respect you. Instead, they complained about the wallpaper, while you lived in that tiny apartment, paying their bills." She touched my hand. "You've always been the adult here, Amelia. It's time they dealt with reality. My phone buzzed. Another text from Lindsay. Mum's crying herself sick. Hope you're happy. I showed it to Valentina. Manipulation, she said firmly. Watch this. She pulled up footage from just an hour ago. My mother in her front yard, laughing with neighbours. No tears in sight. They're planning something, Valentina warned. Your father's been making calls all morning. Your mother's been visiting neighbours, telling them you're mentally unstable. Classic, I muttered. When guilt doesn't work, they try to discredit me. I have something else you should see. She pulled up a final video. It showed my father and mother in their driveway late last night, arguing. We'll sue her, my father was saying. Claim elder abuse. She manipulated us, took advantage. No judge will side with a daughter who throws her parents out. My mother nodded. And once we win, we'll sell the house ourselves. That'll teach her about family loyalty. I felt sick. They're going to sue me. They can try, Valentina said, ejecting a USB drive from her tablet. But with this evidence, they won't get far. She handed me the drive. 5 years of proof. Every incident, every threat, every lie. Use it. My phone rang. Parker. Your family just filed a legal complaint, he said without preamble. They're claiming elder abuse and fraud. They want the house. I looked at the USB drive in my hand. Perfect timing. I have something you need to see. After I hung up, Valentina squeezed my shoulder. You're doing the right thing. Sometimes the hardest choices are the most necessary ones. Through her window I could see my mother in their driveway, probably planning her next move. She looked up, caught my eye, and gave me that familiar disappointed headshake. For the first time, it didn't make me feel guilty. It made me angry. Thank you, I told Valentina, for seeing what I couldn't, for keeping these records. Sometimes, she said, walking me to the door, we need someone else to validate what we already know in our hearts. As I left clutching the USB drive, my phone lit up with a final text from my father. You've started a war you can't win. I smiled grimly. He had no idea what kind of ammunition I was holding. For once, I wasn't walking into battle unarmed. For once, I had proof. And proof, unlike family loyalty, doesn't lie. The courthouse hallway felt colder than it should have in June. I sat on a hard wooden bench, watching my family huddle with their lawyer at the other end of the corridor. They'd dressed for sympathy. My father in an ill-fitting suit that made him look older, my mother in conservative pastels, Lindsay in a demure dress I'd never seen before. Ready? Parker asked, appearing with his laptop and a stack of files. They're going to lie, I said. They're really good at it. That's why we have evidence. He patted the files. Truth doesn't need rehearsal. The judge was a stern-faced woman in her 60s who didn't smile when we entered. My family's lawyer went first, painting a tragic picture of manipulative daughter taking advantage of trusting parents. Miss Amelia, their lawyer said, purchased this house secretly, Your Honour, then used it to control her vulnerable family members. I watched my mother dab at dry eyes with a tissue. And now, he continued, she's attempting to render her own parents homeless out of spite. Parker stood. Your Honour, we have documentation proving my client has paid every expense for this property for 5 years, while the defendants lived there virtually free. He started playing Valentina's videos. My father's face turned purple as his recorded voice filled the courtroom. Once we win, we'll sell the house ourselves. Objection, their lawyer called. These recordings were made without consent. In public spaces, Parker countered, by a neighbour concerned about criminal activity. The judge let the videos continue. With each clip, my family's carefully constructed narrative crumbled. The facade of vulnerable parents gave way to scenes of manipulation and threats. Then came the financial records, bank statements showing Miss Amelia paid $23,000 in property taxes, Parker listed, roof repairs totaling $15,000, utility payments averaging $400 monthly, Meanwhile, the defendants... My mother interrupted, standing suddenly. We're her parents. Everything she has because of us. Mrs. Francis, the judge warned, please sit down. You don't understand, my mother continued, her voice rising. She owes us, after everything we've sacrificed. Like my college fund. I spoke up for the first time. The one Dad gambled away? The judge leaned forward. Is this true? It was a difficult time, my father muttered. Yet you took a cruise that summer, Parker said, producing more records. Charged to my client's first credit card, which you opened in her name when she was 18. Lindsay jumped up next. This isn't fair. She's twisting everything. She's always been jealous of me, always trying to make our parents look bad. Your Honour, Parker interrupted smoothly, we have evidence of Ms. Lindsay stealing valuable jewellery from my client during a fraudulent wellness check. The security footage played. Lindsay, clearly visible, pocketing my grandmother's jewellery box while my mother kept watch. That's not... I was just borrowing, Lindsay stammered. Enough, the judge cut in. She looked at my family with undisguised disgust. I've seen more than sufficient evidence of manipulation, theft, and attempted fraud. The eviction stands. You can't do this, my father shouted. She's our daughter. Being a parent doesn't grant you ownership of your child, the judge replied coldly. The defendants have 30 days to vacate the property or begin paying market rate rent immediately. Outside the courtroom, my mother grabbed my arm. You've destroyed this family, she hissed. I hope you're happy. I gently removed her hand. No, Mom. You destroyed this family, one manipulation at a time. Where are we supposed to go? Lindsay demanded, mascara running. Maybe sell that boat Dad bought last summer, I suggested. Or the jewellery you stole from me. I'm sure that'll cover a security deposit somewhere. My father stepped forward, his face dark with rage. This isn't over. Actually it is, Parker intervened. Any further harassment will result in additional legal action. I suggest you use your energy to find new housing instead. We watched them storm off, my mother already on her phone, probably calling relatives to spread her version of events. 30 days, I whispered. They might try to drag it out, Parker warned. Damage the property more. They can't hurt me anymore, I realised. Not really. My phone buzzed. A text from Valentina. Saw them leave the courthouse. How did it go? I typed back. We won. Thank you for everything. Justice doesn't always feel good, Parker said gently, but that doesn't make it wrong. I looked at the courthouse steps where my family had stood moments ago, already planning their next move, their next manipulation, their next attempt to make me the villain in their story. But for the first time in my life, their story didn't matter. I had my own story now, backed by evidence, validated by law, and in 30 days, I'd have my house back too. Sometimes winning feels like losing, but maybe that's how you know you're finally breaking free. Moving day arrived with the subtlety of a hurricane. I stood in the driveway watching the movers load what remained of my family's belongings into their trucks. They'd waited until the last possible hour of the last possible day, hoping I'd break. I hadn't. This is everything you're taking, one of the movers asked my father, gesturing at the pile of furniture on the lawn. The rest stays, he growled, glaring at me. It belongs to the house. Actually, I said quietly, the furniture was purchased with my money too, but keep what you want. I'm having it all replaced anyway. My mother emerged from the house, clutching her purse like a shield. I suppose you're happy now, she said, her voice trembling, watching your family become homeless. You're not homeless, Mum. Aunt Susan offered you her guest house months ago. That's not the point. Then what is the point? I asked, genuinely curious. That I should keep supporting your lifestyle while you mock mine? Keep paying your bills while you steal from me? Lindsay stormed out next, mascara already running. I can't believe you're really going through with this. What kind of person throws their own family out? The kind who's finally tired of being used. Used? My father stepped forward. We gave you everything. No, I corrected him. Grandmother gave me everything, and I used it to buy this house thinking it would make you proud. Instead, you treated it like you've treated me my whole life. Something to use up and throw away. The locksmith arrived then, right on schedule. He nodded to me and headed for the front door. What's he doing? My mother demanded. Changing the locks. Standard procedure for an eviction. You can't. I can. I am. It's done. My father moved toward me, fists clenched. You little... Dad, I cut him off, holding up my phone. Valentina's cameras are still running. Think carefully about your next move. He stopped, face purple with rage. Behind him, the movers continued loading boxes, pretending not to notice the family drama unfolding. Where did we go wrong with you? My mother whispered. How did you become so cold? I learned from the best, I replied. Remember when Dad gambled away my college fund? You told me to understand, to forgive, to put family first. Well, I'm finally putting family first, just not the way you taught me. The locksmith emerged. All done, Mum. Here are your new keys. I took them, feeling their weight in my palm. 5 years of secrets, of silent sacrifice, of hoping they'd somehow change, all ending with these small pieces of metal. This is your last chance, Lindsay said, trying for threatening, but landing on desperate. Once you leave, I can finally start healing. I turned to the movers. How much longer? 20 minutes, tops. My mother started crying then, real tears this time. Not the performative ones from court, but genuine sobs that shook her shoulders. For a moment, I felt that old, familiar pull, the need to comfort her, to fix everything. But I stayed where I was. You'll end up alone, she choked out. No one will ever love you after this. That's better than being used by people who claim to love me. My father grabbed the last of their bags. Come on, he muttered to my mother and sister. She's made her choice. No, I corrected him. You made this choice. Every time you took advantage. Every time you mocked where I lived while living in my house. Every time you chose gambling over family. This isn't my choice. It's your consequence. They piled into their cars, my father in his, my mother and Lindsay in hers. The movers finished loading the truck. The house stood empty behind me, waiting. Lindsay rolled down her window. I hope you can live with yourself. I finally can, I replied. That's the whole point. I watched them drive away, my mother's car first, then my father's, then the moving truck. The street felt eerily quiet in their wake. I turned to face the house, my house, and felt something rise in my chest. Not quite happiness, not quite sadness, something in between. My phone buzzed. A text from Parker. All done? Yes, I typed back. They're gone. How do you feel? I looked at the empty driveway where my family's cars had sat for 5 years. At the lawn they'd never mowed. At the gutters they'd let clog. At all the small signs of neglect that mirrored how they'd treated my love for them. I feel... I paused, searching for the right word. Free. As I walked up to my front door with my new keys, I wasn't shaking from fear anymore. I was shaking from adrenaline, from possibility, from the sudden, startling realization that sometimes the hardest goodbyes are the ones that save us. The sound of a drill echoed through the empty house as I installed new curtain rods in the living room. Sunlight streamed through the windows, highlighting patches of fresh paint and new hardwood flooring. The house smelled different now, like lemon cleaner and possibility. A knock at the door made me pause. Through the window I saw Valentina holding a teapot. "Thought you might need a break," she called out. I let her in, and we settled on the floor since I hadn't bought furniture yet. She poured tea into paper cups while examining my renovation progress. "The place looks brighter already," she said. "Amazing what a little love can do." "And a lot of contractors," I added, gesturing to the fresh drywall where my father's fist holes used to be. Have you heard from them? I nodded. Mom's been calling relatives, telling them I'm having a mental breakdown. Dad's apparently telling everyone I forged the deed. Lindsay just posts passive-aggressive quotes on social media about toxic people who pretend to be victims. And how are you really? I considered the question while sipping my tea. Lighter, like I've set down something heavy I didn't even know I was carrying. My phone buzzed, another blocked number. I'd been getting lots of those lately. Still not answering unknown calls? Parker says not to. We have the restraining order, but I shrugged. Better safe than sorry. Valentina nodded toward the window. They drove by again this morning, your mother and sister, just watching the house. I know, but they can't hurt me anymore. I stood up, walking to the wall where our height measurements used to be. See this? I'm painting over it today. New memories, new start. Speaking of new starts, Valentina pulled an envelope from her purse. I have something for you. Inside was a photo. Me at 17 standing in front of this very house the day my grandmother died. I was smiling, unaware that my college fund would disappear the next week. I found it while organising old albums, Valentina said. Look how hopeful you were. That hope wasn't wrong, Amelia. It was just aimed at the wrong people. My phone buzzed again. This time a text from Parker. Judge denied their appeal. It's really over. I showed Valentina the message. Good, she said firmly. Now you can focus on healing. Everyone keeps asking if I'm okay, I admitted, like they expect me to break down or regret everything. And do you regret it? I looked around the room, at the fresh paint covering years of cigarette stains, at the clean floors replacing their neglect, at the sunshine streaming through windows they'd always kept curtained. No, I said finally. I regret not doing it sooner. Valentina squeezed my hand. That's not regret, dear. That's wisdom. Another knock at the door made us both turn. Through the window I saw a delivery truck. Perfect timing, I said, getting up. My new couch is here. As the deliveryman brought in the furniture, I caught a glimpse of my mother's car driving slowly past. Our eyes met through the window. She raised her hand, not waving, more like reaching. For a moment I felt that old familiar pull. Then I turned away and helped the deliveryman position my new couch. My choice, my style, my life. Where do you want these throw pillows? One asked. Actually, I smiled, I think they'll look better in my apartment. Valentina raised an eyebrow. I'm keeping this house, I explained, but I'm not moving in. I'm going to rent it out to people who will actually appreciate it, who will pay their rent and respect the property. And your apartment? Turns out I like my shoebox with plumbing. It's mine. Every square foot of it is something I chose for myself. The deliveryman left and Valentina helped me arrange the pillows on the couch. Through the window I could see my mother's car was gone. You know what the strangest part is? I said, stepping back to admire our work. Everyone talks about karma like it's this big, dramatic thing, but sometimes it's just this. Just quietly choosing yourself, setting boundaries, walking away. That's the best kind of karma, Valentina replied, the kind you create for yourself. My phone buzzed one last time. Lindsay, I hope you're happy in your empty house. I looked around at the fresh paint, the new furniture, the sunlight streaming in, at all the space that was finally truly mine, not empty, just clean, ready for whatever came next. I am, I whispered, and deleted her number. Outside, the afternoon sun painted the walls gold. The drill lay forgotten by the window, the curtain rod half installed. But that was okay. I had time now. Time to build something new. Something that wasn't weighted down by guilt or obligation or misplaced loyalty. Something that was, finally and completely, mine.